Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MTE Hanoi 2023. My name is Nguyen, and I'm very pleased to be your host tonight. So over the past few years, MTE has served as a gathering place for hospitality and real estate professionals in Vietnam and the region. So we are here to learn new things, to find opportunities, to expand our network. So thank you everyone for being here and being part of this exclusive event. And now, I would like to introduce the organizer of MTE Conference and Host Hanoi Networking event, the founder of WeHub, director of Savills Hotels, and also my long-time boss, Mauro Gasparotti. Please welcome on stage to open the conference today.
Give it a bit of a time. I hate to speak with the door open, but I'll do it for you. So if you came to the MTE before, you know that usually we come with a theme of the event. Maybe looking into the industry mood, or maybe looking into the latest industry trend, but we always come with a trend. This is how we open the event after COVID. So this one is the first slide we show it because we were open to business. And our theme of the time was time to rebuild. So somehow everybody was very excited to restart right after COVID. A lot of energy, a lot of curiosity into the market. And then a few months after, we moved to Hanoi for the MTE, and we move into looking as main discussion, what are the problems in Vietnam market? What are the big elephants that we need to overcome to really grow? This was kind of last year, and the theme was embrace long term. And then we moved closer to the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. So we should start to show slides like this, because we knew at the end of last year that a lot of problems were coming in our way, internationally, but also local. And we knew that it would have been a tough year to go through. So the last MTE we did, we wanted to raise the game up. This was the theme of the last time. So we want somehow to bring one level up into the hospitality and real estate game. And we brought Mauro as our developer. This is a strong one to go through all the fights to get through the year. And we know that this year it's very intense for our developer. It's never been like this. They are fighting a lot of different monsters in their way. We always complain about them. We all know they should do something better, but we needed to give it that this year is tough for them. And what we wanted from them at the beginning of the year was to save the market. They had to save our Princess Vietnam market. That was the last MTE. So now we move it to today. What is the topic that we try to come with? And I would have loved today to start with this slide to show you that the market is saved, that everybody is happy and we can restart. But we all know that we are not quite there yet. Still a lot of good news around, and today hopefully we'll search for some of them, but the market is not recovered yet. Our developers still have a long way to grow to really save the princess of the market. So today what we're doing, we are looking into that, into what are the problems and what could be the solution. But what happened this year, it was pretty flat and let's say not much activity. So even our princess got somehow to sleep. Everybody has been somehow quiet this year. That's the team we wanted to get. That's our job today, to wake her up, to really restart engaging with a bit of energy, to start the engine again, because the end of the tunnel, if you like, it may be soon, early next year or the end of the year. So what we wanted from this MTE was a simple things. We wanted to re-energize the whole market. And usually, we need every player to actually be energized. And the only things we can do from our side is to bring people together. That's the only contribution we can give to re-bring energy to the market. We have been doing that the whole year. We've been doing it tonight. We had more than 1,000 inquiries to attend it today. We sent out 700 registrations. So very happy that everybody's here tonight to bring a bit of business. And the second element, which is the good vibe to the industry. So thank you very much. We have a lot to cover today. Nguyen will take us through the agenda coming, and I'll see you in about 15 minutes for my part of the energy to you, which is my presentation. Thank you very much.
So I will walk you through the full activities of the event today. We are here in the Grand Ballroom from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We have on the hospitality talk. We have the panel discussion, also the MTE talks. This year in Hanoi, we also opened the master classroom with a theme on design and lighting as well as operation. We start at 4 p.m. and end at 6:20. So if you want to visit this room, please come early because we have limited seats in this room. And please remember to visit the exhibition area in the main foyer and on the right side to visit some of the new products, services for your new project. Also, we serve F&B coffee in this area. After that, from 6 p.m., we will turn this area into Hot Canine networking event. More food, more wine, and more friends to come to join us. So please stay with us until this moment. Some of you might have the business class entrance, first class entrance to this room on the third floor, Ministry of Men, to enjoy some whiskey and some premium food as well. In the Grand Ballroom today, we will start with the hospitality talks. So we have two solo presenters from MTE and also Mauro. They will take us through the regional performance and also development in Vietnam and opportunities. We have Andrew from Ascott and also the panelists. He promised me to dance on the stage, so please wait until we see it. After that, after the tea break, we will turn back here and we have 4 presentations on the new trends. So this part is 10 minutes each presentation, and we learn about the new design trend or building conversion, how we maximize the space, how we turn it into money for developers. And we have another model called active senior living. I think it's really good for developers to learn new products and to apply for your future project. Also, very important part about law. So Mr. Long will share with us the new updated information about the draft land law that could affect your project in the future. And you can see here, expect the unexpected. So join us to see what happened here in between. Last part is the panel discussion about property. So we touch base on the branded resident, luxury, property, also a bit of investment with these speakers and leaders. In the main ballroom, we have 3 sections. First one is the panel discussion on design, on the new trends. And then we have 3 solo speakers on lighting design, how to apply the lighting to change the customer behavior experience as well in your project. And then we have a GM panel with on the hoteliers to talk about Vietnam hotel market and the solution for the recovery. And before we start, I would like to say thank you to our sponsor and partner of the event today. So firstly, Savills Hotel for building up content and speaker. Some of the speakers today got sick, so they cannot attend with us, but the team has tried their best to bring you the most, the updated information and decent speaker to the program. Dulaphan Professional, this year they celebrating 20 years in the industry, and we have applied their color theme into the main theme and color and image of the conference. So congratulations also to Lux, and thank you for being our co-host of the event today. You might know this one is the new brand. So it's firstly Sinter's Sun brand, proudly made in Vietnam. So thank you, Vesta Sun, for co-host the masterclass with us from 4 p.m. And of course, we have on the premium partner, Vinh HMS, Aqua Handy, Tam Phuc, and on the logo you see on the screen. Without them, we cannot make the event happen today. So thank you again for all of your support. And now, let's start the conference. As usual, lady first, please welcome Velancia from STI and CoStar.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a good lunch. I'm the speaker who almost couldn't make it today, but I'm here because I became the Mauro, so that I'm here to share the data insights, the most recent recovery trends of hospitality that everyone is excited to know about. So we are just few months left to the end of the year, so please keep a lookout for the next 10 minutes where I share the most interesting insights for the Southeast Asia region and of course Vietnam itself. So let's start off with an interesting update on a data world tour. So this is occupancy. I guess everyone does agree with me that the demand is not really back yet, right? Yes? So occupancy is still below 2019 levels, as you see on the screen. So in Asia, unlike many other markets, if you still remember Japan, South Korea, and China were pretty much the last few markets to open their borders. So when this happens, of course, flights were pretty much the last to be restarted. And with that, flights were expensive. And I think we all know that we have been paying a lot, way more than what we used to pay in the past for airfares, right? And this has resulted in people deferring their travel plans because of the flights, the high costs, and etc. And thus occupancy for most is still below 2019 performance. But on the other hand, in terms of rates, it paints a different picture, as you see. So inflation is one of the very big factor or key factor that has pushed ADR rates for hotels. As you could see, most of them have already have a positive growth compared to 2019 performance. But of course, aside that, there's also your rising cost of operations, labor costs, and of course, hotels which have missed the opportunities for the last few years, whereby they could not really have the demand there and pretty much not much choices for them to increase their rates. Thus, few years later, which is now, hotels are making use of this chance to leverage whatever they can to increase their rates so that they can recover as quickly as possible. Of course, when it comes to Southeast Asia region, this is about the recovery from January all the way until August, which is just a couple of months back. The very one line that you will notice in this chart is the one in the darker green, and that's Indonesia. So Indonesia has been very strong with their domestic travel. Even start of the year, they have a very strong international tourist arrivals coming into the country. As you could see, there's two peaks in May. One is in last year and the other one in this year. So this is a widely celebrated holiday for May, even in this country, Vietnam here. So that's the Labor holiday. Whereas for this year alone, on top of the Labor holidays, they have the ASEAN Summit, which actually lured in more international tourists into the country, thus pushing up Indonesia performance to exceed 2019 performance. Whereas for the rest of the countries, international arrivals has not rebounded yet back fully, but of course one good sign where we are seeing is that it's inching closer to 2019 levels. And of course, in terms of rates wise, as we talked about earlier on, rates has already surpassed for most of it, even in Southeast Asia. But one thing that you would see right there is Vietnam and Philippines, which probably would be more conservative in pushing up their rates, and thus they have not pushed their rates over to 2019 numbers. But we could be possibly also looking at the year end of this year end, which is for Philippines where demand is stronger, and of course during the Tet holidays for Vietnam, so that we could see if rates would go stronger by the next few months. And of course, while you are talking about recovery, then let's take out recovery from this picture. So this is just on absolute performance for occupancy and ADR. Singapore tops there in performance so far from January until August. This is because of the MICE events and also concerts that's happening throughout the year in Singapore that actually helps to push performance for Singapore there. And of course, the runner-up is Thailand. As we all know, Thailand has also very strong inbound tourism because of their visa that entice Chinese travelers to go to their country. But aside that, you would also know that there's also a lot of Malaysians and Vietnamese that's traveling into Thailand. One, it's because of the distance within Southeast Asia region, so it's close enough for them to travel. And secondly, it's also because of the flights that it's cheaper for them to travel out of their country than to travel domestically. So looking at Vietnam alone, I guess the best trend that you want to see is always a positive upward trend. And this is exactly what we have seen in Vietnam in 2022 when the borders were open in March. So you see that lighter green with a gradual increase of occupancy there, so which is a good sign. But when it started off in 2023 this year, it remains relatively flat. There isn't much increase in terms of occupancy there, aside from the dip coming towards Tet holidays. But of course, when it comes to rates, then it's always a question whether hotels are able to utilize the holidays, the peak period, the weekend travels, the weekend demand, the long holidays to be able to push up their rates. And clearly as shown here, the Tet holidays, the labor holidays, and the year-end holidays are the stronger ones for REITs. And of course, it remains a question to see whether we would be able to get a higher ADR, which surpasses 2019 numbers and both 2022 numbers by end of this year. Yeah. So looking at the different markets in Vietnam, cities right here has performed higher in terms of occupancy than the resort destinations. Not much in terms of the rates there, but one sign for this gap between the cities and the resorts is purely because of the high prices of flights, where it was supposed to bring in more tourists into those resort destinations, but because of airfares trying to leverage on the demand, so increasing the prices of the flights, and thus, but of course, demand for Da Nang is still pretty strong there in this sense. So when it comes to cities comparison, so we look at the different cities comparing in Southeast Asia. So this gateway cities, of course, has posed a strong performance for occupancy in these countries and areas. Whereas if you still remember how I mentioned about Indonesia has surpassed 2019 levels for the occupancy, Jakarta alone, because Indonesia has started off very strong with their international arrivals, and the same thing. So when during the Ramadan holidays, despite having a dip in their performance, because Ramadan period usually the domestic would not travel, but otherwise right after Ramadan in May, they have quickly jumped up to 64% occupancy. So thus, Jakarta is the only one there that has surpassed 2019 numbers for both occupancy and ADR. And then when it comes to resort destinations comparison, same thing. Bali and Phuket are the stronger ones when it comes to occupancy and ADR performance. This would be attributed due to the flights, accessibility, where more travelers are heading out. So same thing for Vietnamese and Malaysians. They are also heading to this Bali cities, particularly looking at the luxury resorts. Thus has reflected on a stronger growth performance for these two markets. Where it comes to the variations in the classes recovery, so usually all along it has been the luxury or the higher tier hotels, as you see, are the stronger performing hotels in the different markets in the region. So as we can see, including that, so when it comes to recovery pace of these hotels, it remains luxury and the upscale hotels are also the strongest when it comes to the recovery pace. Well, we would also say that China is always the top when it comes to pipeline performance there, but not to forget also Vietnam alone has about 100,000 keys that's still in the pipeline for the next 5 years, and this is definitely going to be a supply pressure for the hoteliers here. So there's this one very interesting thing that I wanted to share. So in the past, we do not have Hanoi included in this chart, but the good news is right now we have Hanoi opening up this forward star whereby it covers the occupancy on the books. So as you could see, the trend is that it still remains as a short booking window for travelers because of the downward trend in terms of the occupancy. So occupancy is still low for the next 30 days or so. But the great thing you could see on this chart is that there is a sufficient or even 40% occupancy for Hanoi that is currently seen on the occupancy on the books for end of this year. While it remains unknown whether this would be the actual occupancy coming for the next few months or so, but it would definitely be something as an opportunity for hotels there to tap on. And thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Velancia. It's truly informative information for the client. I think it's a good foundation for our panel discussion later on as well. And before moving to the next presentation, I would like to share with you a video from our co-host.
A tiny can of paint. What can it do? It can make your wall look less like a wall and more like a work of art. But is that all it can do? At Dulux Professional, we see more than a can of paint. That's why we've tapped into technology to turn it into something more, so that every stroke of the brush won't just make spaces more beautiful, it'll make the planet more livable. The walls will stay clean and colorful for longer. Buildings will be cooler, no matter how hot it is outside. The air inside will always be breathable. Painting homes will take less time and cost less. And the impact on the environment will be much lower. To the world we make paint, but for the world we make more than just paint. We make coatings for tomorrow. Dulux Professional. Let's paint a better world.
Thank you. And now I would like to invite on stage Mauro Gasparotti again to share with us the presentation on Vietnam development opportunities. Please welcome.
My presentation before, and you probably saw it many times last year, I only use picture. You love it, but some of you complain that you like from me a bit more number. So tonight, I'll take you through all the number you want. I'll get you high on number together with me. So, but I'll make a story out of the number. So we'll talk about two things. One is the supply, and the other is the demand. And we start today from the demand side. Now, Vietnam, in the last few years, has all been about growth. We grow for more than anybody else. Pre-COVID, we were 35% per year. So at a certain point, we were thinking to challenge Thailand going forward. So it was a very good momentum that we created. This has allowed us to put Vietnam into the international map, to show the Vietnam beauty of hospitality to the rest of the world. But what happened is really that Vietnam moved away from being just a single country into a multiple destination. So it's not just I visit Vietnam one time, I actually go to different destinations, same as probably Thailand. So we really moved to international destination. And then the other phase show up of the picture, which was the overdevelopment and the over-tourism, which we are still dealing with that right now. Now, this was pre-COVID. Then COVID arrived, obviously everything dropped, and then we start to work on the recovery. But how was the recovery of Vietnam? Was kind of unique in a sense, because the first year of recovery, we actually were doing fairly well compared to the rest of the world. Phu Quoc was doing well. A lot of drive-by destinations were doing well, and luxury was doing well. So we were kind of happy. And there was one single reason of why we were doing well, which is the local demand. So for the first time, we start to see Vietnamese traveling within their own country, and we start to see the power of the local demand. Then we start this year. This year, the local demand starts to slow down, because obviously it become outbound demand, so Vietnamese love to travel back, and we only rely on international travelers. Now, Vietnam's story, international travelers, it's a bit sad at the beginning and happy at the end. We didn't start as strong as other countries, because, it just takes us a little bit more time to get our visa together, our flight together. So the first 6 months was a bit scary. But in the last 6 months, a lot of good news are coming of international demand. We are now almost recovered completely from Korea. We open up to India, Indonesia much more than before, and even Chinese market, which is very difficult market to get. We are trying to see again. At the beginning of the year was less than 5%. Now we're almost 30% of what we were before in terms of Chinese market. So if you ask me, I'm still very positive looking into next year, and I'm sure the panel later will discuss some of them. So I'm positive for two reasons. One, because I see it coming back, but also because I know that Vietnam always is at half of its potential. So we can do much more for Vietnam. And there are a few things that we could do more. First of all, we could have more fly. We know that a lot of our destinations, they still need much more direct flight, and we have the capacity for it. But also, we should do much more promotion of some of the destinations which need to be promoted in Korea or in other countries. So this will give us another push-up. But what also I'm very positive into is going back into our local demand. Now, you probably saw this statistic already, and a lot of industry rely on this statistic. How strong is the growing of the middle class? How strong is the growing of spending for Vietnamese mid-market? So all of this, it will be captured by the hospitality industry. But if you dig into a lot of numbers, there's other good news. Urbanization, which actually is not only Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, Da Nang, Hai Phong, Nha Trang, they're growing faster than Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi in terms of urbanization. All coastal destinations. And also senior living, for example. That's a market that we can start now to look into to be able to capture. And we'll talk about that later. Okay? So, if I'm so positive, why STR before say that our occupancy is not quite there yet? We actually are the last one. The reason, it's kind of obvious, is the other side of the game, is our supply. The demand was growing very strongly, our supply was going stronger. So hotels today in Vietnam are not just fighting low demand, are fighting the fact there are a lot of new opening every time. And it's not just today, you saw it from RCI, it's not just today, it's actually keep coming our demand and pipeline. So we need to work 2 times higher to catch on that. But I promise you that today we dig a bit more into number, so let's dig a little bit more into this. The majority of the demand, of the supply, went into coastal destination. So everything was by the beach. And what's interesting is to see that very few supply was going to the main city, a fraction of it. So if I'm a developer today, and a lot of you are, I will look at very closely statistics like this to know that we need more room in the main city. And again, don't look at today. Look at in 3 or 4 years' time. There's nothing coming. So all these statistics just prove that Vietnam potential for hospitality investment development is still pretty high. You just need to look into the right way. Now, let's move the attention into management company. We have a lot of operators today. Let's see how they're doing. They're doing very well. Less than 25% property were managed a few years ago. More than 40% will be managed under a third party looking forward. What is with this operator? Why we love them so much? I'm a strong supporter of third-party management company because somehow they do a good job. The rate is higher, occupancy higher, take care of the training of the staff, so somehow they do a good job. But what we see in the last 2 years is something we never saw before, which is rebranding. 85% of all the rebranding in Vietnam happened in the last 2 years. A lot of property are changing brands, so going from local to international, or going from international to another international, which is usually a core, but we don't want to mention that. So there are a lot of rebranding going on. So a lot of reason. But also what happened in COVID, after the lockdown, people start to see that operator, they did a better job into the recovery. The third-party operated property was the first one to recover and much better organized in terms of information and HR. So a lot of owners now start to see the value of those guys. But let's look in Vietnam, who is the biggest one? Accor is by far the biggest one, is the first one to start. Marriott is catching up fairly soon. ING is doing well because he has a couple of key clients. And for example, Intercontinental is the only luxury product that is in every city in Vietnam. Melia is catching up fast because of the Vinh Group rebranding, so somehow give it a lot of power. And Wyndham, later we'll have Udo on stage. Wyndham is doing very well, mainly because of the Condotel and branded residence products. Our operators are not just growing in terms of number, are actually bringing much more brands to the picture. So we're going to expect much more than 100 brands in the last few years. But again, what's interesting to see is that if you dig into that, you notice something very interesting. We are moving from the typical brand that we all know about into some brands which are much less owned. Still same operator. So this is a big trend that we saw in the last few years. A lot of people are signing up with the new brands. And why is that? Few reasons. One is because actually hospitality is changing, consumers are changing. Now you look into lifestyle brand, into boutique brand. Lot of people are looking at different kind of experience. So we kind of move away from this. We want to give much more personalized type of work. The other reason, which is probably the main one, is because the operators are running out of brand and they try to sell you whatever they have available. Some of them are actually decent. Just give us a call before you sign up. Okay, so we are now moving to another slide, which is very interesting, but I'll need a bit of a water, and you need a few minutes to make sense of this. If you open it for me, yes, you mentioned a few years working together. Take it, it's okay, it's coordinated, still training. So we are now looking into the 3, 4, and 5-star category. And we are looking into all the different cities in Vietnam. So which city is actually the best balanced? In my opinion, is Da Nang. Now, let's have a look to something curious here. Some of the destinations rely much more into budget and economy scale. So they all target family and they all target larger groups. Those are the destinations that start early the path of hospitality. Nguyen, Nha Trang, they all started early, and there was a much more into a local market type of product. From the other side, other destinations, they target the upper upscale portion. So again, if I'm a developer, I will look closely into this to discover where the opportunity are for the next development. Why those destinations? Those are the latest one coming to the picture. So a lot of branded residents, a lot of five-star, everybody in the last few years wanted this kind of products. Let's move to something interesting, which is our luxury space. I'll let this go on. Vietnam has a very few luxury products. Just in Bali, we have more luxury resorts than the whole Vietnam together. So we do need more luxury. There are coming, some of them. The Ritz-Carlton Reserve was just announced, I think, last week. You can ask Min somewhere a bit more detail. But somehow they are coming, but we definitely need much more. But what is interesting about luxury is that the industry itself, it's growing a lot. After COVID, it was one of the best industries to be into, luxury industry. The luxury hotel were the fastest to recover after COVID. And today, 20 to 30%, today, the majority of the luxury hotel outside Asia, the rate is already 20 to 30% higher than 2019. So somehow is in a category that we should look at very closely. But also why luxury it would be good for Vietnam, for a few reasons. One is that it's very linked to sustainability. A lot of luxury products today, they embrace sustainability as a core value for their guests or their destination. So they are teaching better way, Six Senses, Soneva, Aman, they are teaching other people about sustainability. The second reason is because luxury can create destination. If you have a destination that is not well known, the right product will attract the right business. And we saw that in Vietnam. So it's very interesting for some of you that have a larger master plan to actually get a bit of attention. Then luxury allow alternative business model, luxury yacht, luxury plane, but also club and membership club, private membership club, which again, we will see them coming to Vietnam. The third reason is there is a strong linkage between luxury and residential, branded residence. This is the graph showing the trend of branded residence globally. So it's a product that now is fully integrated into the property and is fully understood by developer. We don't run away anymore from branded residents. They are here to stay and they will keep coming. And why so good for developer? Because it gives them a premium into the rates. Almost 50% premium in some of the emerging cities from your residence into your luxury branded residence. So it's very interesting for a lot of people. But what is branded residence? So let's say I start to define it by condotel. Our usually condotel definition is something that is half residential and half resort. So this is our condotel, and I know you saw my slide already. So if this is the condotel, what is the branded residence then? Let me introduce you my new guy. That's our branded residence. It's just a condotel version, much better than that. Condotel has been a very important part of our hospitality market. You know that probably we rely on condotel much more than any other market. It's just part of our system. They've done a lot of, they change a lot our hospitality spectrum, including the fact that they brought the average unit into being much bigger. So a few years ago, the average hotel was 150 rooms. The new upcoming one, the average is 300. So because of those condotel, we are going bigger. That's also why we needed more operator. But today, are the condotel doing well? The answer is no. This year was one of the worst for them in terms of launch. So we do have a very little number of new launch this year, and we start to see the price dropping. Not because the average price is dropping, but because the few one that has been launched to the market are actually in entry category. The last product today, then I leave you to the panel. I'm going to ask a question to see if you know what I will be talking about. So everyone wants to have me, but nobody knows how to use me. This is a product in Vietnam, which is our shop house. And you know it very well what I'm talking about. We have almost 60,000 launch of shop house in the last few years. 40% are completed. 45% of all of this went to Phu Quoc to absorb all the shop house that nobody know how to use it. So it's a product that is there and still need to find its way through. But why people keep building? And again, and I know they will not stop it. Because somehow, to me, to my opinion, it's just a simple building. It's a simple structure. So the developer understand it. Local authority understand it, and they give approval. Buyer understanding, they are familiar with that. So somehow it's a simple product to include into the development. But our question is to a lot of developers, okay, let's assume you do a simple product, but why you cannot do it little bit better? It's kind of outdated, your product. So that's when we work with a lot of developers to try to bring a bit of a soul into the shop house operation later on, to show that hospitality allowed a lot of activity, lot of experience to be plugged in. So we explore with them a lot of different products that the shop house could be associated with or converted into. And sometimes it's not just the full soul. You need some of the element in your design, on your wellness, or some of the element that allow you just to have a better product than before. Or sometimes you want to completely change the industry and bring something that did not existed before, just to make a bit of innovation or a bit of a big statement to the market. There's a lot of things around that could come. Thank you very much. And I'm going to see you later at the Oscar night. Thank you. Nguyen, over to you.
Thank you, Mauro. So these are just a recap photo of Mauro's presentation, and I hope that you enjoy his presentation. And if you like to meet Mauro again, there are two ways. First is if I have the slide on the upcoming MTE conference, because he will be speaking in March next year at MTE conference Ho Chi Minh City. And can I have that slide, please? So people can see clearer on the theme of the event for next year. So, okay, so I'll share with you. Next year, Mauro will be speaking, and we will organize MTE Ho Chi Minh City about the wellness and sustainability in hospitality and in real estate projects. And the second way to meet Mauro is to hire him as a consultant. Because at Savills Hotel, we can support you for the planning and operator selection services. So please contact us for further support and information. And now, before we move to the next panel, we will have a video about our value partner. Thank you for your attention. And now our team will prepare the chair for the panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce our moderator of the hospitality panel, Mr. Andrew Landon, Chief Development Officer Asia from Ascott Hotels. You will dance?
No, I'm a very bad dancer.
But you will do something, right?
I will do something.
You
absolutely.
promise me.
I promise.
But I can dance with you.
Let me jump because if we don't get a chair to the gentleman here, he will really dance, and we don't want him. We want his brain, not his body, even if it's a good one. So get the chair going and get the music. Thank you.
Yeah, and joining the panel with Andrew, we have Varun Grover from Booking.com, Nguyen from Vinh HMS, Tilleke Sovico Hospitality Group, Mr. Steve Wattenholm from Hoi Anna Resort and Golf, Mr. Yudo Chan from Wyndham.
Yeah, and just so you know, I lost my hair just in the last few minutes. Guys, it's the wrong panel. What a wonderful start. Okay, anyway, could I invite my panelists up on stage, please? Okay, so as they're getting up on stage, just a few ground rules. We're going to make this a fun, interactive panel. I am not going to sit up there. I'm going to be walking around to keep an eye on you all. Questions. If you have questions, don't wait till the end of the panel. Put your hand up and we will come to you. Okay? Questions can be in English and in Vietnamese. We're good at both. Okay, we can turn off the music now and we'll get started. Wonderful. Mario, you want to say something?
No, I love to listen to you, but we do have a bit of a problem in the slide because Udo, somehow, he's a counterparty of the CEO of Wimper Holding. So, Juren supposed to come today, but unfortunately was sick this morning, informed that he's no longer here. So Udo was so brave to jump in at last minute and share with us the knowledge, but he's not here. So thank you, Udo, for being here.
Thanks, Udo. Okay, to kick things off, I'm going to give all of you a quick chance to introduce yourselves, your name, position, and what is it that you do. Udo, would you like to go first?
Hello. Right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Udo. I work for Wyndham Hotels and Resort. We have 24 brands, and I focus on 7 countries, including Vietnam, for their business development activities.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tu. I'm the CEO of Sovico Hospitality. At the moment, we have around 10 hotels and service apartments from Hạ Long, Đà Nẵng, and Nha Trang, Cam Ranh, and Ho Chi Minh City.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve Wolstenholme. I'm the president and CEO of Hoi Anna, which is an integrated resort based in just outside of Da Nang in central Vietnam. It's a pretty large resort. It includes a golf course and a couple of hotels, actually 4 hotels, and a lot more development going on. So, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Varun Grover. I'm the country manager for Booking.com for Vietnam and south of Thailand. In my role, I work very closely with our partners to make sure that we optimize their performance and we ensure that there's always best availability and pricing available for our customers who come to our marketplace and looking to book wonderful accommodations in Vietnam.
Good afternoon. My name is Nguyen. I'm the founder and CEO of Vinh HMS, and we build software to manage a hotel. So right now we're at about 40 hotels in all over Vietnam, and we're growing regional. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we'll start the panel off with a soft question, and this is for each of the panelists. So can you explain to us some trend that you are seeing that is having an impact on the hospitality market in Vietnam, and why? Udo, would you like to go first?
Oh, definitely. Well, actually, those trends has been mentioned by Mauro earlier, but it's good to, to look at it in another angle. So first of all, we do see is there are a lot of connectivity coming on in terms of other places coming to Vietnam, and this is much needed, particularly, to places like Guangdong or Phu Quoc or even Da Nang to be able to bring, the international customers coming over to different destinations. Another trend, what we do see is becoming more and more increasingly popular is really the conversion opportunities. And together with the connectivity, a lot of the clients, developers, seeing that they need to engage with international operator to be able to tap into the wider network. So, give you some example, a few conversions that we successfully signed for this year, including two of our largest Wyndham Grand and Wyndham Garden worldwide, and they just so happen to be in Phu Quoc. And both of them were actually in 1,399 rooms and 921 rooms respectively. So that's a total of 2,500 rooms in Phu Quoc. That is in the complex of the Corona Casino area. Now, another area of trend that we do see as well is new destination. In fact, Vietnam has 58 cities and 5 municipal other regions, and we do see a lot of opportunities and being encouraged and opened to get ourselves into, as a first mover advantages. So places that we were able to, move into and get on, certainly Guangdong is one of them. We signed the Wyndham Garden over there. In first project, international brand project in Ninh Bình province. Last year we have our Wyndham Grand, Vedana Ninh Bình, which is a new destination and a conversion as well. And also in Bình Châu, a new project that we signed last week as our luxury door chair by Wyndham Bình Châu. Thank you.
Thanks, Yudo. Tu, what trend do you see?
I think he shared quite a number of the trend. For me, moving forward, we see that golf development in Vietnam is quite popular right now, and there's more and more golf course will be built from now in the next 5 years. So I see that as one of the trend for that capture a lot of international guests. The other thing is we talk about so many years is the wellness, that integrate with the resort and the whole complex area, and also the medical as well. Thailand has been very developed for that specific field, but I think there's a lot of potential in Vietnam and people start focusing on that, so that is one of the trends that I see as well.
Steve?
And the rest is for you, yeah.
And you can't say gaming is a trend. You're banned.
Okay, I won't. Hello. Thank you. Hello. Yes, it did. Okay, so Andrew, I get that. I will not use that word. Integrated resorts. So Hoi An is an integrated resort, and what we've seen in the past is integrated resorts, just by definition of its title, means that we attract people and we hope that they stay within the resort. This is a very dated idea because people come to Vietnam not to stay in a resort, they come to Vietnam to experience Vietnam itself. And quite honestly, that's what we're doing as a resort that is really changing, is bringing the experience of Vietnam to the people that come in. So we're providing a lot of amenities that they want to have, but by the same token, also ensuring that they can go out there and they can experience places like Hoi An and other places that really enables them to say that they've been to Vietnam, not just a resort.
Thank you.
Sure, sorry about that. So for us, we do 3 key research for Booking.com every year. 2 of them are global. So first is our Sustainable Travel Report, which is a global survey, and Vietnam is always part of that survey focus group. Then secondly, we have a Travel Prediction Report, where we again do a global survey, and we try to identify what are the biggest market trends for different key markets. And again, Vietnam is always part of that when we talk about APAC. And third survey is more APAC specific, where again there are 8 key markets, and we try and understand what's the traveler confidence index. And again, Vietnam has to be there. So consistently across these 3 research surveys, what we've identified as sustainability and preference to travel sustainably, preference to make sure that travelers can use their travel as a force of good and make a positive impact on destinations when they travel, continues to be the mega trend. More and more travelers are trying to travel more sustainably, but they don't know what sustainability actually means for a hotel. So what Booking.com is committed to do is that we work very closely with our accommodation partners. We help them to identify what kind of practices can make them more sustainable. And then we help them to showcase those practices on our marketplace so that for travelers who are looking for these wonderful sustainable accommodations, it's easy to identify and book those properties. So I would say sustainability throughout the year consistently is the biggest market trend for us.
Interesting, sustainability. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Hong, what do you see? Biggest trend?
Well, from technology perspective, right, the last 5 years, everybody is doing digital transformation. DX everywhere, right? So I think you've seen this. So, going forward 5 years, first of all, this is a time where hotels who did digital transformation start to reap the rewards, okay? Now you operate better, more efficient, you can generate more revenue or new revenue stream. So that's the first thing. And also like the big elephant in the room, right? The next 5 years, AI. AI is everywhere. And it will become something that it's like Varun say, right? Sustainability, I don't even know what to do with it. AI is going to be everywhere that you don't know, right? The chatbot, your recommendation, the upsell proposal, right? The room they're going to upgrade you. Eventually, everything will be powered by AI, and they will understand you better than you would know. Yeah.
While I have you on the mic, let's get stuck into some topics. IT. Okay. What is the biggest issue you come across when you are speaking to hotel owners about IT?
Well, the biggest issue is, I think, and we talked briefly about this, is for hotel owner, IT is always an afterthought. It's a cost center. It's a necessary evil, like you need it, but like, why? And I understand it, right? It's partly our fault. In the last 20, 30 years, nothing changed on the operation. There's no new revenue stream coming from IT. And then so the idea is like, why would I appreciate something that haven't changed at all? But I think, and as COVID makes us realize that we need to be more agile. We need to come up with new revenue stream. And the funny part is then people realize that technology is actually the best way for you to grow going forward. So I have this simple scenario and example I'm going to ask the audience, right? Most of you, or all of you are hospitality professional. You stay in hotel, right? And some of them stay too long in hotels, right? So how many of you use spa in a hotel that you stay? Can you raise your hand, please? If you ever use a spa in a hotel? All right. Now, how many of you actually use a gym in a hotel? Okay. So the thing would be, right, every hotel that you need to have a gym, right? But not a lot of people is using it, okay? And then so what happened if the hotel now, right, but you look at I'm using PT service, for example, right? The PT service in Vietnam, they charge me like $25 to $30 an hour. In Singapore, it's crazy, it's like 120, okay? So the idea would be, how about you thinking about, can you sell or partner your gym with one of the PT service so you can bring people in? And so you make money from the time that your gym not being used by your guests, but also it's really good for your guests. So that was just an example of like, technology. Now you look at that, it's actually like a gym booking for hotel. And you can take more money from that. And so my idea, I think, is pretty simple, right? IT wouldn't be an afterthought. It's actually be a foundation. And so on top of that foundation, you're going to raise more revenue. You're going to save the cost. And so I really hope that people want to start seeing that.
So invest in IT to make more money. I'll remember that next time I speak to an owner.
Andrew, talking about IT, look at how good is my team in IT. Udo, look yourself back and recognize yourself now. We just changed with a few titles. See, a few minutes.
There
Keep
we go,
talking.
IT in action. One more question for you, Hong. Is IT costs going to go down over time for hotel owners, or is it going to keep going up? Biggest complaint I get from hotel owners.
It will go down because, technology, things like cloud, it's getting to a critical mass. And if you follow, cloud computing guys like Amazon or Microsoft or Google, right, their cloud computing cost for customer is actually going down. It's getting a lot cheaper and cheaper. So once you convert that, it's an infrastructure. So if the infrastructure is going down, then the cost of the application on top of that is also will be going down. And so as I say, right down the road, the ROI is going to be a lot better and better when we can, can see that, hey, with the new technology, with the new booking platform, for example, I can make $1,000 more for my gym. And I just need to pay like $80 for the gym booking software, for example. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Varun, what's the biggest trends you have seen in regards to Booking.com in Vietnam over the course of 2023? Say compared to 2019, what's changed?
There are no Chinese travelers. That's obvious. No, but apart from that, talking about what kind of behavioral changes we see in consumers, I spoke about sustainability, so I don't want to touch upon that, but that's by far the biggest trend, especially in Vietnam versus other countries. People are more conscious of their impact. Second is actually wellness tourism. So what we've realized is that in Vietnam especially, a lot of people are traveling domestically. In spite of all the news we hear about flight costs getting higher and people are going outside Vietnam, there is a strong trend in growth in domestic travelers. Vietnamese are traveling domestically, but they are probably going to offbeat places. They are trying to experience more of their country in a very authentic way by engaging with community. And that's where the wellness tourism comes into play, right? Because when they travel, it's not just about experiencing with community, but also engaging in certain therapies, certain kind of experiences which can help them to feel better, which can impact their mental well-being in a positive way. So I think that's another trend which is becoming very strong. If we look at certain cities which have grown over the last 12 months, then definitely these are smaller cities, more authentic, local destinations. And the kind of properties which are doing well are providing those kind of facilities to customers. So I would say that's the second trend.
Okay. You don't get off that easy. Here's a follow-up question for you. So if I am a guest going on Booking.com, actual sustainability, I want to book a hotel that is strong in actual sustainability. How do I see that on Booking.com? Do you have a rating that I can look at? How do I know?
Yeah, so about 2 years back, we launched our Travel Sustainable Batch. So it's a program where hotel accommodations can identify about 29 practices under 5 categories of, water consumption, how they are making it more efficient, energy consumption, what kind of measures they are taking to be more sustainable, waste management, how they engage with local community. So these are the things which they can clearly showcase by providing us information on 29 practices. Then Booking.com, Google, Expedia, and few other online companies have come together, and there's an NGO which is formed. It's called Travelist. It's an independent organization, not Booking.com organization. And they've developed an algorithm which decides how sustainable is this property versus other properties in a particular destination. And based on that, they get a tiered batch, which is called Travel Sustainable Batch, which is very visible on our front end. It's a tiered batch from 1 to 3, and once properties get the highest level of tier, which is getting a certification, a qualified certification from a third party, then it becomes very easy for customers to understand which are these sustainable properties in a destination. But at the same time, what we do is that it's not just batch. So if customers go to extra information, they can actually see what kind of practices these properties have implemented. So it becomes very specific, very material in that sense.
Great, thanks. Just a side note, you speak to any international hotel operator, and there are many here, the sustainability, it's a big thing now. And we've all got KPIs that we've got to hit. And it's worth it for an owner. Let's speak about sustainability. It's a bit of a trend. I'm going to move to Steve. Hoi Ana, big project. What sort of sustainability actual practices do you have in place over a large integrated resort? And how do you see that changing, keeping in mind that sustainability from guests is a growing trend?
Right. Well, certainly from a Hoi Ana's perspective, it's something that we're particularly focused on. Much of our power consumption is now generated through solar energy. And we've worked with third parties to actually not even invest from a capital standpoint ourselves, but they will invest for us. And then we actually buy that power from them at the rate that we would generally buy that power until that capital expenditure has been accommodated. So that's a very big point for us. The other thing is that it wasn't that long ago that we were using a lot of plastic. Now plastic's out of the door. The water, we produce our own water. These things are very important to us, and they are important to our guests. So it's definitely a trend. I think it's a very worthy trend. I think the day where sort of operators were putting signs in the rooms that say, put your towel in the bathtub are over, because quite honestly, that wasn't particularly a good method. But I think that we've certainly embraced it at Hoi Ana.
Tu, you obviously oversee a number of properties that you own and operate. Okay. Sustainability from an owner's perspective, how do you manage that? Because sometimes it involves CapEx, spending money. How do you manage that as an owner, and what advice can you give owners here?
Before we participate in some certain report, we have a listed company, my previous company, and there's a very long list of all the items that have to be met with the requirement for sustainability. So some of them relating to the initial investment, and those things was communicated on the initial stage of a project. So for example, the building, the material that you used, the wood, the stone, all those kind of things, the power plant, like you mentioned, we can use solar power or even the water source and the water treatment. So there's some certain standard based on Vietnamese laws actually that we have to follow. And on top of that, for the owning company right now, I do believe that there are many owners, they start to care about sustainability, because that's one of the requirement, international requirement for some certain certification. And for initial stage, we have to include it and implement it in the construction stage. When it comes to more operational, like you mentioned, I believe that all the hotels right now follow some certain requirement in terms of no plastic, water use, and all those checklists to make sure that we have some certain standard in terms of sustainability. And from the owning company point of view, we totally support that, because that can actually reduce the cost and will not harm the environment. We have one hotel, La Lia, in Ninh Vân Bay. We actually plan to have our own power plant, the water bottling system, and also the water process system as well in the property. And we teach the guests how to live with the nature, because they're like the bird, the monkey, all those things. It's part of the sustainability as well. And we do believe that from the owning company point of view, if we do the right thing from the beginning, including all the requirement in the design and construction process, moving further down the road, all the costs, operational costs will be reduced. And also that the trend of the whole world moving forwards as well.
Thank you. Yudo, let's talk franchising. Franchising in Vietnam of hotels, we don't see it very often. Does Wyndham franchise, is that the model you use? And how successful has it been for you? And what are probably the key issues you come across when you're talking to an owner about franchising?
You know, actually, this could follow up with the earlier question about the trend in Vietnam for next few years. I would say, in fact, franchising is the trend as well. What we do see is a lot more other international operators are starting to selectively finding different brands for franchising. But you know, in terms of franchising for us, this is actually our bread and butter. Wyndham, if you may not know, is actually the largest hotel franchisor in the world. So we have 9,200 hotels across 24 brands. Just a reference. In Vietnam right now, we have 41 hotels, and out of 41 in the properties, more than 95% are franchise. So if you ask me, basically, we have been able to capture a large market shares in terms of franchising opportunities. The question is, why franchising now? The fact is, a lot of Vietnamese owners that we do see is that they have been managing experience, and you know, in terms of typical traditional hotel management agreement, it actually costs quite a bit. And in terms of franchising, the model works in a way that we still provide them, you know, the training, all the different SOP, all the corporate support as well, but they are the one who actually are taking in control. So when you think about, you know, the costing or in terms of, you know, hiring selections of general manager, director of sales and marketing, we totally allow them to run the day-to-day operation of it. And we encourage them, you know, particularly we see, you know, there's a strong local talent actually in the market. And some challenges certainly we do see is the franchising model in Vietnam is established. But in terms of legalistically for the trademark registration is actually a little bit more complicated than other markets. So in terms of registration, it actually takes longer time to register. You know, I can tell you we have 24 brands, but not all the brands are being registered. Certainly, you know, our core brands are already being registered. And sometimes there might be, you know, some kind of dispute and issues that we have to handle. But I mean, overall, you know, this is you know, one of the procedures that we have to follow, and we do believe, you know, this franchising opportunity is getting more and more popular in the market.
Okay, so let's say I'm an owner. I want to franchise, but I don't want to manage. I don't want to run the hotel myself, but I want to franchise. What is the solution, Udo?
What is the solution? Well, typically, I would say, you know, there's another concept come in play. So in terms of the different component, you have the developer, whom we basically consider them as franchisee. We have us as franchisor, which we are not managing the property, but yet the franchisee doesn't want to manage it. So there comes another party, which we call a TPO, a third-party operator. And a third-party operator basically would be signing a hotel management agreement with the owner. Now, the question you may be asking is how commercially viable would this arrangement be as compared to a typical hotel management agreement that is being signed with a hotel operator and the owner. In summary, what I can tell you is, and it has to make sense in such a way that the franchise agreement being signed by the developer and us, the HMA being signed by the developer and the TPO, in terms of all the commercial terms and fee, has to be affordable, comparable to a traditional HMA. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And I would say, and what we've seen is that typically an owner would be more willing to engage with a TPO simply because the contract term is much shorter. We are not talking about a traditional one of 15, 20 years. We are basically talking about 3 to 5 years. And this is directly being hired by the owner. So, you know, the full interest is actually, you know, on the ownership side.
And so TPOs or white label operators, are there any here in Vietnam? It seems like it's quite a new thing.
Not that popular, not yet. But I would say it's not a trend yet, but certainly there is a huge potential. When you talk about TPO, it's very, I mean, for us, we have collaborate with a lot of third-party operator in the region, primarily in Thailand, in Malaysia, and other places, where they actually do have the experience to manage hotel, and they work closely with the client and us. But in terms of Vietnam, the reason why there is still a lack of TPO probably is because the client is not fully aware of this model, and they still believe that they can do it by themselves. And they have not yet appreciate or not yet exposed themselves to the beauty of engaging with a TPO.
Wonderful, thanks. Just so everyone knows, typically an operator, if to register your brand for franchise in Vietnam, you have to register by brand, and the process typically takes 2 years. Okay? So, if a call wants to franchise our brands, come and talk to me in 2 years' time. That's basically where it stands. That's not a plug, by the way. But two, I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you consider franchising your hotels to an international operator? And if so, why or why not?
I think he explained quite a number of the reasons, right? Sometimes from the owning company point of view, we care a lot about the bottom line, what we're going to get in the end. Some other owner, they care a lot about the reputation of the brand. Otherwise, we can manage the hotel by ourselves. Some of the hotel, they care about, okay, we have the reputable brand, but we need to get interfere into the operation because the service is not good enough. So there are many factors that we taken into consideration once we choose the operator or franchise. So working with an operator is not an easy thing to do. Sometimes we do feel like, so sometimes the owning company will feel like, well, the performance is not good enough, and we want to push a bit harder. Sometimes we sign contract with the operator that's not capable enough to actually make things work, so we have to interfere very deeply into the operation. And sometimes we got stuck because of all the terms and conditions on the HMA. And that's why when they're the franchise model, it's so much easier. It gives us good, if the good brand, they're willing to do it, like good reputable brand on the hotel resort that can be maximized for real estate or other purpose in the future. And it gives us the flexibility in terms of working with the operator, maximize their global distribution system, but not compromising on the owner choice of how they would like the hotel to be. So I think that there's the opportunity there, but not for all.
I think that was a very good summary of the pros and cons of franchise versus management. So that, I think that means you're open to franchising then. We'll talk later.
That's why we talk about the third-party operator, right? So, for example, there's some certain small operator, not small, but the individual. They don't have the complex. They don't have like 3 or 4 hotels. So they care a lot about the performance of that hotel, and they want to get like really involved. And I do think that is when, like Wyndham, right, brand can get involved more, and maybe there can be third-party operator because the owner has no idea how hotel work. So that's when like all 3 parties can actually get together.
And I would say, franchising is also popular and suitable for some clients who want to build their own empire. They have more than 2 or 3 hotels. They may be new to the industry, but they do foresee themselves to continue to growing on. So it actually would be more cost effective for them to hire people in the corporate. They have a good general manager who understand the business and hire other different team members. And we have a lot of talents of such in the market. And at the end of the day, this actually will cost quite great to the client. And in fact, one of the major differences, and again, I'm not saying what is better, management or franchise. Certainly, there are both pros and cons. But in terms of franchising business model, we are basically just 2 highlights. Number 1, we only charge on the top line rooms revenue. So when it comes to total revenue or bottom line of GOP, which traditionally MHMA will be charging for your base fee, total revenue, your incentive fee on the GOP, we don't charge that. We only charge you on the top line. And secondly, We basically, are charging based on room revenue, and so meaning that, if you have other facilities, earlier you talk about sustainability, you talk about wellness and spa and all that, that would tap along as our facilities, but we are not charging a single cent out of it.
Great, thanks, Yudo. Okay, so, franchise, I think many on this panel, that's definitely a growing trend. It's going to come to Vietnam very soon. Steve, you, I feel, probably had the toughest job out of any general manager in this country, because you basically had to open an integrated resort coming into COVID. So explain to us, what was that like? What were the tough decisions that you had to make to get through COVID? And what have you learned and adopted coming out of COVID?
Yeah, so we opened in June of 2020, so it was right in, just prior to COVID really hitting in Vietnam. But it's very important for us to open, predominantly because there's no secret, we're a casino resort, and the casino license was approved by the Ministry of Finance, and we wanted to open at that particular time. And we knew that as soon as we opened, that there was a challenge on the horizon, and how we're going to manage that. And the most important thing that we wanted to ensure that we were doing, we hired a lot of people. We wanted to ensure that when we started to introduce cost savings measures, that we would not reduce by a great deal of headcount, we would reduce by hours, so that we retained as many people as possible. Because I think the most important thing is that 20 years from now, there's going to be a fair number of people that started out when the resort opened, and they're still going to be there. And they're going to remember. And if you can go through hard times and you can ensure that you're being very fair about how you manage hard times, that was something that's really important to us, and we wanted to make sure that we actually accommodated that. Was it character building? I think it was character building for all of us, and certainly we learned a lot from the experience. The main thing that we did some things wrong. On retrospect, some things right. In retrospect, certainly retaining as many employees as possible, reducing those hours, reducing the cost was extremely important to us. We suspended a lot of the unfinished work, and we reduced some of our preventative maintenance. And in retrospect, I think that was not the right thing to do, because when you start to re-engage those works, you're spending more money in order to do that, and certainly reducing some of the preventative maintenance has a cost attached to it later on. So that would have been something quite different. But it certainly was, as I said, a character building time for many people. I think we got through it, but I think that we've learned to be a leaner, more dynamic organization. Quite frankly, being less reliant on expatriates and more reliant on local talent. Developing local talent was very important to us, and I think that this is something that we continue to do. We're very proud of doing that, because I think we have a sort of a moral obligation to do that, and that's certainly something that I think will take our success. Will grow our success in the future, because we have looked after our local people.
Right. Thanks, Steve. Varun, what's your advice to a hotel operator, manager, hotel owner to get the best out of Booking.com? What can they do to increase the amount of bookings and the revenue from Booking.com? And what do you see is the biggest mistake they make in terms of Booking.com? Give us your best and worst.
Okay. I think it's very important to understand what Booking.com platform is. It's obvious, but a lot of people don't understand, right? It's a marketplace which connects travelers to accommodations. And what hoteliers, or not just hoteliers, but accommodation partners in general need to understand is that they need to have a more strategic distribution outlook. Not all markets perform same, not all geos perform similarly. So it's very important to understand which are those segments where they would like to invest more. And at Booking.com, we make it very, very easy for them to pick and choose certain strategic tactical products which can capture the kind of demand which is actually useful for them, which is more relevant to their business. So I think that's one mistake I see. A lot of even mature accommodation partners don't have a clear strategy. It's all about, today I want to increase my occupancy, but now it's more about ADR because this is where my corporate wants me to take, this is where my owner wants me to take. And I think that's where the things go wrong. So have a more tactical planning when it comes to how to capture demand from different segments and different geos. I think that's one thing. On Booking.com, we actually, like I said, have very specific products. So if you want to gain more visibility, then I think Preferred Listing, which is one of our products, Genius Program, which is by far the biggest marketing program we run, and has a very loyal base of customers who book more than 3 times in a year with Booking.com. So be part of these programs to gain that visibility. But if there are certain markets which are picking up for Vietnam, let's say, then invest more into those markets. We have special targeted rates for certain markets, and I think it makes sense to not just have a very generic discounts running everywhere, but be more strategic with which market you want to capture. Depending on your product, depending on also understanding of how those customers are going to provide you with ancillary revenues, so those kind of things. One more thing. So we always heard from our partners that, Booking.com is a great platform. I understand visibility boosting products, but I don't want to discount my price. I want to go for higher ADRs. So this year, we have actually launched a new product. It's called Booking Network Sponsored Ads, which is very much active in Vietnam. We are scaling it now. And what it does is that it provides our accommodation partners to do pay-per-click kind of campaigns on Booking.com. It guarantees, it's like a bidding system. Hoteliers have to bid for that placement, but it guarantees second placement on the first page of Booking.com in that particular destination. So I think that's a great tool because I believe that goes out of the marketing budget and our accommodations don't have to dilute their ADR. So I think that's another thing which can be used more effectively.
Great. Huong, the big international hotel operators have brand standards for IT, certain software that you have to use. Whereas if you don't have an international brand, there seems to be a lot more flexibility. I guess you are seeing that in practice because let's face it, Vinpearl have converted a number of their hotels to international hotel operators. I'm not sure if you've been involved in the conversion of the IT for those properties, or is there one? Can you give us some insight on that in terms of the...
On the conversion, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, in the end, the standard or the requirement should be different between international and, even locally owned. Because as a customer, right, you would want your data be protected everywhere. It doesn't matter. You go to the chain or you go to the local hotel. You want your data to be protected. You want your privacy to be respected. Okay, and then so I think there'll be like 2 different scenarios. One is, the older version of software, a very small company, and they do things their way. So that's why we haven't seen a lot of new technology startup can join force with international chain because they didn't pass the standard requirements. And then so the next generation of software company like ours, we build on top of the cloud. So by default, we compatible with a whole bunch of requirements. And then so once we talk into the international chain, of course, there'll be a huge list of compatibility that we have to pass. But it can be done. For example, when we connect to Booking.com, they would require us to be like PCI DSS, to be like even GDPR compliant, so that they can send the booking directly to us. And then, I think it makes sense for service provider, especially in IT, grow yourself into international standard. And by doing that, you can, you can work with brand more easily.
Great, thanks. Okay, the questions are going to get tougher now. I'm taking off the gloves. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll get around to you. Don't wait till the end. Oh, we have a question. I'll come to you, but I've got one first. Are you ready, Steve? Here you go. It's the gaming question. All right. What is the future of gaming in Vietnam? To be honest, I don't think it's been that successful. Am I wrong? Am I right? What needs to change?
It's certainly been challenging here in Vietnam. However, having said that, if we actually look at local gaming, for example, we're all aware globally of some social challenges that local gaming can bring. And the pilot program that's going on right now in Phu Quoc is a program that will help the regulators and the authorities understand what those dilemmas can be. That's important because we want gaming to be entertainment and entertainment for everyone without some of those social problems that you can get from gaming. So that means it's quite slow. The second thing is that gaming is in its infancy in Vietnam, and it takes a while. And I think that gaming, as we go through this, as we evolve as an industry here in Vietnam, we are becoming more familiar. And I think that as time goes by, there may be regulatory bodies that will be established to help us ensure that we are meeting international standards, which we are. But I think the future of gaming in Vietnam is a very bright future. But again, it's something that has to have a pace, and the pace is not a quick pace.
Just one more thing on gaming. What country at the moment do you think is the greatest competitor in terms of gaming for Vietnam? Which country keeps you up at night?
Well, I would like to think that no country keeps me up at night. But having said that, there are some countries that are extremely aggressive, such as the Philippines when it comes to gaming. There's countries that are considering gaming, and Thailand being one of them. Thailand, I don't think anyone would disagree, is an aggressive country when it comes to hospitality. I think they do a lot of things right, and sometimes they do things that are, a little bit speedier than what happens here in Vietnam. So I do believe that Thailand, if they were to have gaming, would be a major competitor for Vietnam. However, competition is a good thing. So I think when you see some competition, then sometimes things happen a little bit faster than they would otherwise. So again, I'm very optimistic that gaming does have a future here in Vietnam.
Great. We have a question. The first question from the audience.
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Björn Richtig. I'm working for Kodo Vietnam, and I have a little bit more challenging questions for you guys. How do you feed all this development with qualified labor here in Vietnam? Then I have a few questions. I'm based in Da Nang, and I see a lot of tourists, but they are basically packed in buses, mainly from, I think, Koreans and Indian tourists. And there's only a very few businesses participating in those tourism, but a lot of businesses do not. And then the last question is, looking at Da Nang, at all the ghost properties there, I have seen several people come in the first time to Da Nang. They were wondering what's going on here. How do you think on a short and long term how that's going to impact the development for the tourism, especially in Da Nang?
Who wants to answer that? Okay, Steve, you answered the first question about labor and the last question about the buses. in Da Nang, because probably the bus is going down to Hoi An anyway. And Tu, why don't you answer the second question about the ghost buildings?
I would like to check if I understand it correctly. You say that you see a lot of international tourists coming to Da Nang, so you would like to understand a bit more about the future, right? On the source market coming to the city? Or?
Yeah, no, it was more about the tourists coming on buses, and it's more the low-quality tourists. Is that what you're saying? No? Let me go back and we'll re-qualify what that question was.
I'm saying that there are pre-organized tours, and there is only a very few businesses participating in those tours because they're going always to the same destinations. So the numbers looking nice, but there's only a handful of businesses participating in those. And then the other question was in all the development, from where domestically you're getting the necessary labor and manpower to provide all the services for the tourists.
So one's about labour in hotels, and the other one about tourism.
We, for Sovico Hospitality, we have Furama in Da Nang. We have like Furama with a big convention center. And the thing is that we see Da Nang as a very good destination, like well-known destination already for international tourists. The government has been doing a lot of activities across some certain source market in Korea, Japan, even in Europe. And we do see that there are some activity or entertainment in Da Nang, right? Like we have Banana Hills, we have golf course along the coastal line from Da Nang to Hoi An, and Hoi An is very close as well. It's like 30 minutes or like 45 minutes away from Da Nang. So those are the destinations that are well known to the international travelers. And if we want to have like more tours or like different destinations, of course there must be new activities or new investment into the city. That's what I think. And moving forward, the thing is that we see Korean guests and many international tourist guests coming to Da Nang for the last couple years already. There will be some certain time that the destination will not be like, attractive to those existing market anymore. So I do think instead of creating new tours or new entertainment, we need to also find new source market as well. And that's why we have the Jet Air, right, from Sovico Hospitality. We also do the connection, like destination connection, working with the government to maximize new destination like India and European country coming to Da Nang and other destinations. So I think that is the more important rather than create more activities or entertainment in the city.
And let me add two more supplement points on this. Certainly, Da Nang has become, an emerging city. There are a lot of international flights already directly flying over to Da Nang. And what we do see is there are still more opportunities. And mark my word, there will still be more international hotels as well as new customers coming over to Da Nang. Certainly, Korea is number one in terms of source market coming to Da Nang. We have seen actually, increasingly more from India as well. And in terms of attractions, you may not know there's actually the largest indoor water park managed by Japanese, the Japanese one, that recently opened in Da Nang, which is not the traditional Da Nang beach or city area, but it's on the other side. And that actually also able to attract new customers, coming over, and we do see opportunity of such, in this area.
Great. Okay, we're just about to wrap up. So I've got one last question for each of the panelists, probably the most important of the day. The question is this: if you were the tourism minister of Vietnam, what single decision would you do to improve the tourism market in the country? Udo.
Well, quick one. Shorten the APAC card approval process from 6 months to a few weeks would be better.
Two.
Because he said the visa already. So for me, it's a destination marketing and destination marketing and destination connectivity. And that's actually what we're doing as well together with Vijet and the government.
Steve.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty obvious for us. It's really about visas. I think the government is making great strides with the e-visa, and some destinations that now have extended non-visa requirements. Unfortunately, some of those countries aren't countries that are necessarily coming here in droves. Obviously, PRC is very important to us, but the issue is that we have to learn to live without PRC, at least in the short term, and maybe in the medium term, which actually makes us stronger. As long as we focus on those other markets, Korea being number one, Taiwan being an extremely strong market for us, Malaysia being a great market. So there are markets out there that we can, and can you imagine if we've got a really strong ADR, we've got a strong occupancy without PRC, when PRC comes back, hey, it's game over.
Yeah, if I was the tourism minister for Vietnam, God forbid, I think it's a tough job because this area is very competitive and there are other markets who are doing a lot of aggressive marketing. So I think it will be a very tough job, but I would actually focus inward and I would focus on sustainable development of Vietnam. I think it's very important to understand that Vietnam is known to be a very natural destination with a lot of beautiful beaches, a lot of nature, a lot of tradition, a lot of countryside experiences. Government needs to protect that. They need to incentivize properties to help them to become more sustainable. So on our platform, we have more than 23,000 accommodations across Vietnam. And not all properties have right knowledge and financial means to get a certification. While we are doing our bit to provide that awareness and knowledge to these partners, they need some incentive. They need some financial means to really, really become more sustainable. And I think that's where government should focus on.
Huang, lucky last.
Well, they said it all. But I think I agree with Steve. Is like, the visa policy is something very, very important. Because see, if you do all the marketing in the world, people love Vietnam, they want to come to Vietnam. And when they arrive to Vietnam, they realize that we don't do like visa at the airport anymore, or for some country, we require them to submit visa 2-3 days ahead. That's really a bummer, right? And then so the moment, and also I think, the market will fix itself. So once you fix that and you have a decent inflow of guests, right? Even the China, the Korean, then it will require the hotel to be more responsible, because luxury guests, when they stay at a luxury hotel, they will ask for sustainability. They will ask for your responsibility. They will, want to know about your ESG compliance, things like that. So yeah, only know, I wish that we can fix the visa policy as soon as possible.
Yeah, thanks. Just to bring home the visa issue, we did have one panelist which was due to join us, Chris. Unfortunately, he couldn't get his visa in time, so he couldn't be here. So just goes to show the visa is a bit of an issue. So we have a question. Okay, last question, but it's got to be very short and there'll only be one answer.
One short question for our panelists. I've been living in this, Jean-Yves from Archetype. I've been living in this beautiful country for the last 20 years, and I'd like to hear you about, okay, I don't know if it's a myth or true, but I've heard, probably like many of us here, that Vietnam is not a country where people come back, tourists come back. There's a very low rate of return. So how do you think we should address that, or Vietnamese should address that, and the hospitality industry in its general?
Who would like to answer that?
And we need a very short answer.
Yes. Varun,
let me give
it's
one,
you.
maybe. Oh.
Go for it. Or you do.
Okay. I think there needs to be more entertainment. There needs to be better infrastructure connecting different tourist hubs across countries and more entertaining options. One of the reasons why I think people go to other destinations in Southeast Asia as a repeat client is because there's so much more to do. But if you are in a city like Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi, which is actually the most visited tourist destination in this country, there's hardly anything to do after 10, apart from drinking and going to certain, spots which we can't talk about, but there's nothing much to do. So I think that is where change is needed, and that's where people will find coming to Vietnam again and again more attractive.
Wonderful, thank you. Please put your hands together for the panelists. Thank you very much, Udo, Tu, Steve, Varun, and Huang.
Thank you, everyone. And if Andrew allow me to say something, I wish to have more of this conference so that we can have a lot of experts to share the insightful, informative, and also to share the solution for the market. Thank you, everyone. And now we have 15 minutes for tea break. Please come back here at 4 p.m. And then we have a lot of sections coming up after. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of the MTE Hanoi 2023. I hope that you had enjoyed a good time with some other guests outside and enjoy some of the coffee. Please remember that we have the networking part from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. tonight with more food, more drinks, and more friends. So please stay with us until then. And in this second part, we will have the MTE Talks. There will be different solo speakers to share with us the new trends on design, on the conversion building, about law. So a lot of new updates for you. And then we also have a show for you in between. So please pay attention and stay with us in this room. And now to kick off the second part, I would like to play a video of our partner. Thank you. And now I would like to invite on stage the Master of Design, Vice Dean of the Faculty of Interior Design Architecture, Mr. Vinh Nguyen, and he will share with us the new trend about design. Please give him a big applause to kick off the second part. Mr. Vinh will present in Vietnamese. So for some of the foreigners today, we have the headset allocated around for you to listen for 10 minutes in Vietnamese. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Nguyen. I come from University of Architecture of Ho Chi Minh City. I would like to introduce the story of color trend in architecture interior design in 2024. I have spent several years researching the color trend, and I am very happy to be here to share with you my opinion about the color trends. And I think I could present in Vietnamese better. So please use your headset if necessary. Thank you. Trước tiên thì chúng ta sẽ xem qua về cái khái niệm được gọi là xu hướng về màu sắc, và sẽ không có một cái xu hướng nào được gọi là phổ biến trên tất cả các cái lĩnh vực trong cuộc sống của chúng ta. Thì ở đây tôi ví dụ đến quý vị các anh chị một số cái ví dụ trong một số cái lĩnh vực. Ví dụ chúng ta có lĩnh vực về kiến trúc và nội thất, thì cái xu hướng nó đưa ra với những cái tông màu nó sẽ dễ dàng phù hợp để chúng ta áp dụng vào trong không gian sống. Đối với lĩnh vực về thời trang Thì có những cái thời trang mà sàn runway hay là dành cho những cái thời trang về ứng dụng thì chắc chắn là những cái màu sắc nó vẫn phải mang tính chất là trung tính. Bên cạnh đó thì những dòng thời trang ấn tượng thì chắc chắn vẫn sẽ được áp dụng một số cái xu hướng đặc biệt. Trong lĩnh vực về graphic design và thiết kế đồ họa thì có rất nhiều các cái quan điểm về màu sắc và nó được diễn ra rất là nhộn nhịp trong cả một năm. Và thậm chí cái tính biến đổi của nó thay đổi khá nhiều, bởi vì khi cái lĩnh vực về thiết kế đồ họa, về quảng cáo, về thiết kế về kỹ thuật hay là về sản phẩm thì nó sẽ có liên quan rất nhiều các yếu tố liên quan tới trải nghiệm người dùng và giao diện người dùng. Thì cái lĩnh vực về UX và UI đã trở thành một cái sự tác động khá mạnh trong cái lĩnh vực về thiết kế ngày hôm nay, để khi trong mọi cái phương án thiết kế từ quá trình nghiên cứu và phát triển thì đều phải lưu ý đến cái trải nghiệm và cái tâm lý của cái người sử dụng như thế nào. Thì ở trong đây nếu mà xét về cái tính tĩnh và nó có tính ổn định và nó vừa với lại là cái tâm lý của người sử dụng mà một cái không gian sống về lâu dài, thì chắc chắn là trong lĩnh vực về kiến trúc hay lĩnh vực về pen hoặc là materials thì nó sẽ có những cái giải pháp màu sắc nó dễ chịu hơn. Trong lĩnh vực về kỹ thuật thì chắc chắn chúng ta sẽ không thoát một số cái màu mà dù cho nhiều cái năm tháng nó thay đổi và người ta có công bố nhiều màu sắc thì nó vẫn sẽ xoay quanh một số cái tông màu liên quan tới kỹ thuật và công nghệ. Trong cái lĩnh vực về quảng cáo và graphic design và product design thì chắc chắn là ở đây cái cường độ về màu sắc thì nó trở nên nó sẽ mạnh mẽ hơn. Nếu chúng ta lướt qua đến một vòng để thấy được, nếu để công bố ra một xu hướng về màu sắc của cả một năm thì rõ ràng trong những lĩnh vực khác nhau nó sẽ có những cái bộc lộ về màu sắc khác nhau. Chúng ta đến một chút xíu, bây giờ chúng ta đang ở tháng 10 của năm 2023. Thông thường để công bố ra một cái màu sắc dành cho một năm mới thì cái đội ngũ các chuyên gia người ta sẽ phải làm việc trước đó khoảng 6 tháng. Mà nếu trước đó khoảng 6 tháng thì họ đến từ nhiều cái lĩnh vực khác nhau. Có thể là những kiến trúc sư, những nhà thiết kế, những họa sĩ, những nhà sáng tạo, những người sáng tạo về nội dung, những chuyên gia về marketing hay là những người chuyên về sale. Và đặc biệt nữa là những người chuyên nghiên cứu về tâm lý và các cái nghiên cứu về thiết kế và sản phẩm đáp ứng cho người dùng. Thì cái quá trình thảo luận sẽ giúp cho người ta có thể dự đoán được một số cái màu sắc mà sẽ được xem ra nó sẽ trở thành xu hướng của năm tới. Thì chúng ta đang ở tháng 10 năm 2023 thì chúng ta đã có một số cái dự báo về xu hướng màu sắc dành cho năm 2024. Ở đây chúng ta sẽ thấy là đối với có một cái điểm chạm thú vị trong một số cái hãng cung cấp. Thông thường các cái hãng này thì họ sẽ có liên quan đến các hãng về sơn trang trí. Pantone là một cái hãng về sơn trang trí nhưng họ cũng dẫn đầu trên toàn thế giới về việc họ công bố ra những cái xu hướng màu sắc mà có tính chất dẫn đầu trong lĩnh vực thiết kế và quảng cáo luôn. Thì gần như có một điểm chạm chính là tông màu được dự đoán của năm 2024 sẽ là tông màu ấm, tông màu nóng. Đặc biệt là nó có nhiều cái cấp độ khác nhau, từ cái màu đỏ cam rất là mạnh mẽ đến cái màu đỏ nâu, màu đỏ vàng mà nó di chuyển qua màu hồng và thậm chí đến màu hồng trung tính. Thì chúng ta sẽ thấy là tùy vào cái sản phẩm, cái mức độ về sự tương tác và phục vụ cho cái đối tượng mà sản phẩm đã hướng tới thì người ta sẽ đưa ra một giải pháp về màu sắc phù hợp. Chúng ta nhìn qua về một cái hành trình 21 năm. Tính từ năm 2004 cho đến bây giờ chúng ta sẽ thấy là có một số cái quan điểm về việc công bố ra một cái chuỗi màu sắc dành cho mỗi năm nó có sự khác biệt. Và ở trong đây thì nếu chúng ta quan sát khoảng từ năm 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 và thậm chí qua năm 24 thì tông màu nó được trở nên nó ấm cúng hơn. Nó thiên về tông màu của tự nhiên và đặc biệt là cái tỷ lệ của màu ấm là được dự đoán trải qua các năm thì nó chiếm cái tỷ lệ đa số tính từ năm 2015 trở đi. Theo một cái kết quả về nghiên cứu thì người ta đưa ra một số cái kết luận về các cái vùng về màu sắc mà được ứng dụng trong kiến trúc và nội thất. Thì chúng ta sẽ thấy là nếu chúng ta di chuyển từ năm 2004 đến 2024 thì chúng ta sẽ thấy rằng là có một thời điểm là những cái tông màu về màu lạnh và những tông màu rực rỡ đó nó khá phổ biến, nó trở nên mạnh mẽ. Nhưng mà cái thời gian nó thay đổi qua 21 năm thì chúng ta sẽ thấy rằng là xu hướng màu ngày hôm nay, cái vùng của màu trung tính nó đã trở nên nó phình to hơn. Và cái gọi là cái độ phân chia về các cái cấp độ về màu trung tính nó trở nên nhiều hơn. Và nó trở thành luôn một cái nhóm màu mà có cái sức ảnh hưởng trong cái lĩnh vực về thiết kế. Chúng ta nhìn luôn cả về một cái nhóm màu mà có sức ảnh hưởng mà cái vùng của nó cũng khá mạnh, chính là nhóm màu nóng liên quan tới màu đỏ, màu cam, màu hồng, màu nâu. Thì cũng trở nên là cái nhóm màu khá phổ biến và đặc biệt những màu này thì thông thường được dựa trên các cái nguồn cảm hứng liên quan đến màu sắc từ tự nhiên và màu earthy là một dạng màu của đất mẹ. Chúng ta nhìn qua thêm về hành trình khoảng 7 năm trở lại đây để chúng ta thấy một cái sự thay đổi về xu hướng về màu sắc như thế nào. Trong 7 năm mà có hết 5 năm thì người ta đã dự đoán về những xu hướng màu nó đi thiên về màu ấm. Trong đó có 2 năm là thiên về màu lạnh. Có năm 2020 thì khá thú vị là cái năm nó được đề cao với 4 cái chủ đề là empathy, nó đi về sự chia sẻ và đồng cảm. Đi về play là nó có cái xu hướng là một cái không gian có nhiều cái tính trải nghiệm hơn. Đề cao cái tính nature là về yếu tố về tự nhiên, và đặc biệt là well-being là nó đề cao về cái việc không gian mang lại cái trải nghiệm tốt cho sức khỏe của người sử dụng. Đến năm 2021 thì chúng ta có một cái sự kiện mà thực sự là nó khá ảnh hưởng đến toàn cầu, chính là cái đại dịch. Lúc đó nó trở nên phổ biến. Thì cái chủ đề chính của cái năm 21 đó là Trust Timeless, gọi là một cái niềm tin, người ta giữ mãi cái niềm tin. Là mong mọi người hãy cố giữ được cái niềm tin để vượt qua cái thời điểm khó khăn này. Và cái tông màu nó là khá ấm. Đến qua năm 2022 thì thế giới thoát khỏi đại dịch. Thì trước đó người ta đã dự đoán là nếu vượt qua khỏi đại dịch thì là một bầu không khí mới. Tất cả mọi thứ nó trở nên nó trong lành hơn. Là cái fresh air là của năm 2022. Thì qua đến năm 2023 thì thực sự nếu quý vị đặt cho tôi một câu hỏi là vào tháng 3 tôi có một cái buổi cũng có chia sẻ về cái xu hướng này dành cho màu của năm 23. Và cái màu gọi là White Wonder nó được gọi là một cái mùa vàng, gọi là một cái thời điểm mà chúng ta thu hoạch mọi thứ nó tốt đẹp. Và nếu như vậy chúng ta sẽ đặt ra là liệu rằng cái xu hướng được công bố của cái năm 2023 có khớp với lại những gì đã xảy ra trên thế giới chúng ta hiện tại hay không? Chúng ta chưa vượt qua được những cái khó khăn. Và nếu cái bộ màu mà được công bố trở thành xu hướng mà nó đề cao tới cái câu chuyện là đến một cái mùa gặt hái một điều gì, thì theo quan điểm của tôi thì xu hướng của năm 23 không khớp với lại thực tế. Mà cái điều ở đây chúng ta không thể quay trở lại trách đối với những người họ công bố ra xu hướng màu sắc, bởi vì trước đó họ cũng dựa trên rất nhiều các cái dữ kiện dữ liệu, nó cả về những yếu tố về nghệ thuật và khoa học và kinh tế, từ đó họ mới công bố ra được về màu sắc. Tuy vậy thì mình tôn trọng cái công việc đó. Tuy vậy thì đối với cái xu hướng của năm 23 thì bản thân tôi không đứng về cái màu đó và cũng không đứng về cái câu chuyện mà họ chia sẻ. Tuy vậy để chia sẻ với quý vị thì thấy trải qua trong vòng 7 năm gần đây thì một số cái chủ đề mà nó hướng đến trong những cái xu hướng màu sắc đó, thông thường chúng ta có đến 6 năm đề cập tới câu chuyện về nature, là những màu sắc sẽ xuất phát từ tự nhiên, từ thiên nhiên, và nó khuyến khích những cái giải pháp để mang lại cái cảm hứng tự nhiên vào trong không gian nội thất. Cái từ gọi là well-being cũng xuất hiện trong khoảng 5 năm trở lại đây, là nói về một cái câu chuyện là không gian có yếu tố về tốt cho sức khỏe và cái yếu tố về chữa lành. Yếu tố về cái city living thì nó xuất hiện trong năm 22 và qua năm 24 là đề cao tới những cái câu chuyện về cái bối cảnh người ta đối diện với lại cái đời sống đô thị á, nó sẽ như thế nào. Và bên cạnh đó thì năm 24 thì tiếp tục một cái câu chuyện là sự chia sẻ và đồng cảm. Thì bản thân tôi đang mặc một cái màu của năm 24. Tôi khá quan tâm và khá thích thú với cái màu sắc của năm này. Năm ngoái thì tôi cũng chuẩn bị một cái màu vàng để mặc, nhưng mà thấy rằng hóa ra chúng ta đi mặc trước về một cái xu hướng mà chúng ta cảm giác rất quan tâm, nhưng khi thực tế cái điều nó đến thì chưa chắc là khớp. Vậy thì quan điểm của chúng ta sẽ đón nhận đối với yếu tố xu hướng như thế nào? Chúng ta sẽ chia sẻ tiếp. Thì tôi đến một cái phần nữa là chia sẻ cùng với quý vị về câu chuyện của màu sắc năm 24. Có những điều gì chúng ta cần lưu ý? Thực sự ra thì màu sắc trong cái lĩnh vực về công việc của tôi, vừa nghiên cứu về giảng dạy và về thiết kế, thì để nói để am hiểu về nghệ thuật thì thực sự thông qua nghệ thuật chúng ta có thể hiểu được về một bối cảnh, về xã hội, về kinh tế của một cái thời điểm nào đó. Và chắc chắn là nghệ thuật nó đạt được những cái đỉnh cao hay nó có những cái dấu ấn đặc biệt thì chắc chắn nó phụ thuộc vào điều kiện, cái hoàn cảnh của cái xã hội và điều kiện kinh tế có thể tạo ra được cái giải pháp hay là một cái tác phẩm nghệ thuật nào đó. Thì nhà ở của chúng ta cũng là như vậy. Thì đối với năm 24 được gọi là một tông màu gọi là Sweet Empress, là gọi là một cái ôm ngọt ngào, một cái màu hồng khá ngọt ngào. Và đối với tôi đó là một cái màu trung tính và thực sự ra là đây một tông màu rất đẹp. Chúng ta tìm hiểu thêm là trong năm 24, nếu một cái từ cái ôm ngọt ngào mà nó được phân bổ ra thì 4 cái khía cạnh chính trong cái năm 24. Thứ nhất là nature, là một cái không gian có cảm hứng từ tự nhiên và có màu sắc từ tự nhiên. Thứ hai chính là họ đánh mạnh vào cái trải nghiệm và tâm lý của người sử dụng ở đô thị, gọi là câu chuyện về trải nghiệm trong đô thị và nhà ở đô thị. Họ đối diện với lại là cái hoàn cảnh chung của kinh tế nó như thế nào. Vấn đề là well-being, là nó sẽ đề cao về việc một không gian giúp cho cái sức khỏe của chúng ta nó tốt hơn. Và cuối cùng là một không gian khuyến khích một sự đồng cảm. Vậy thì đồng cảm ở đây nó như thế nào? Chúng ta đang đứng trước một cái bối cảnh của toàn cầu mà phải đối diện với quá nhiều thứ. Đối với thị trường tại Việt Nam mình cũng đối diện với nhiều vấn đề. Sự đồng cảm được đặt ra với nhiều câu chuyện có liên quan. Thứ nhất, đôi khi chỉ là một cái sự ôm ấp và chia sẻ đơn thuần, chúng ta gọi là đồng loại, hoặc là có thể là chúng ta yêu về động vật, về thế giới tự nhiên mọi thứ, là chỉ là một sự đồng cảm đơn thuần. Cái thứ hai là chúng ta nói về câu chuyện về một niềm tin. Và cái từ belief ở đây nó nói về một cái niềm tin hoặc là đức tin. Và thậm chí khi đứng trước những cái bối cảnh thực sự khó khăn thì người ta luôn bị ảnh hưởng và người ta đi theo cái đức tin và niềm tin của mình. Một cái sự đồng cảm nữa được đặt ra ở câu chuyện là gọi là một cái chủ nghĩa về nhân văn. Và ở đây chúng ta đang đứng trước những cái quan sát về cái hệ quả của những cái cuộc chiến của Ukraine với lại của Nga, hay là của Israel với lại là Palestine và Hamas. Thì chúng ta sẽ thấy là cái câu chuyện về sắc tộc, về tôn giáo là nó là câu chuyện môn thuở, và đến tận ngày hôm nay thì thế giới vẫn đứng trước những cái ngưỡng cửa về những cái cuộc chiến liên quan tới những cái lý do cốt lõi này. Và cái ôm ngọt ngào chính là một cái thông điệp mà chỉ thông qua về màu sắc cũng muốn gửi gắm một cái thông điệp về mong muốn đối với thế giới như thế nào. Ngoài ra thì đối với một cái yếu tố về riêng tư hơn là cái ôm ngọt ngào nó khuyến khích đề cao về yếu tố về gia đình. Cái thứ hai là chia sẻ với lại những cái thế hệ trẻ của ngày hôm nay. Và cuối cùng chính là một cái niềm đam mê đối với nghệ thuật. Đối với cái màu sắc của năm thì họ cũng sẽ có chuẩn bị một số cái tông màu có liên quan đến những cái tông màu ấm hơn, tông màu lạnh hơn, hoặc là những cái tông màu vui hơn để chúng ta dễ dàng có thể được áp dụng trong không gian nội thất. Thì tôi xin lướt qua về 3 cái nhóm màu chính trong năm nay. Thứ nhất là nhóm màu ấm, ở đây đề cao đến cái màu từ tự nhiên, và earthy là gam màu từ đất mẹ. Và chắc chắn quý vị sẽ thấy trong năm nay sẽ xuất hiện rất nhiều cái xu hướng ombre, là xu hướng về dùng cái màu sắc có độ chuyển. Và nó tạo ra một cảm giác mơ màng, nó hơi mộng mơ một chút xíu, nhưng nó là một cảm giác vô cùng ấm áp. Và nó có sự chia sẻ, và đôi khi ở bên cạnh đó chúng ta có một cái điều gì nó khá mơ hồ trong cái xu hướng này. Cái thứ hai chính là những cái dòng chảy nó có liên quan tới nguồn cảm hứng từ tự nhiên mà vẫn kết hợp được với màu hồng, là nó thông qua một số cái ứng dụng về màu sắc. Và cái thứ ba là để tạo ra được một cái không gian nó tươi tắn, vui vẻ, nó đáp ứng được nhiều cái nhu cầu của giới trẻ hơn, thì nó có một cái xu hướng để nó tạo cho cái tinh thần của mình nó phấn chấn hơn. Và chắc chắn trong 3 cái xu hướng tôi vừa trình bày đến các anh chị thì chắc chắn nó đều luôn xuất hiện một cái nhóm màu. Thứ nhất là có màu hồng, và thứ hai là nó có màu ombre, là nó có độ màu chuyển. Thì nếu chúng ta có nhiều thời gian hơn để chúng ta chia sẻ và đặc biệt bày tỏ về quan điểm về việc chúng ta đón nhận màu sắc nó như thế nào, thì tôi hy vọng trong những cái dịp khác chúng ta sẽ có dịp trao đổi thêm. Ngày hôm nay thì rất vui khi được trình bày về quan điểm của tôi về phong cách và xu hướng có liên quan đến màu sắc được sử dụng trong kiến trúc và nội thất. Xin cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe. Xin trân trọng cảm ơn.
Cảm ơn anh Vinh rất là nhiều. Cho em hỏi anh một chút là cái màu năm nay của MC mặc có phải là Sweet Embrace không ạ?
Đúng rồi, màu của MC như thế này thì Sweet Embrace là nhìn MC mọi người sẽ có xu hướng ôm MC luôn á.
Wow. Dạ em cảm ơn anh. Em cũng hy vọng là mọi người khi mà nhìn thấy MC cảm thấy vui vẻ, và mình sẽ enjoy tiếp những cái buổi nói chuyện tiếp theo các diễn giả. In the next 10 minutes we will have Managing Director of YOTEL. Please welcome Nikhil.
They used to tell me, boy, you ain't going nowhere with your cheap guitar and your big long hair. You gotta realize all your responsibilities.
Hello, everybody. Guess that's loud enough. Thank you. Wow, what a song. Thank you, Mauro. Thanks for having me here, and to the team. Good to meet everyone. How's everyone going? All well? Excellent. So next 10 minutes, I'm just going to talk a little bit. This is not about brand sale. It's more about what's going on with the landscape. What do we see? Why conversions are becoming increasingly important, and ultimately, what's capital looking for to unlock that value in real estate. So, couple of things that's got us started with this lay of the land story, right? The macro factors. Actually, just stepping back, Mauro had two interesting slides up there earlier on. One of them around branded versus unbranded, the opportunity around that in Vietnam. And the second one that was really interesting was the city penetration versus the resorts. And when we look at sort of the opportunity that's happening in Vietnam, in the cities, you can see quite a lot of the macro factors playing a big role. So the macro factors, a lot of them being driven by economic GDP, etc., that is impacting travel, the cost of travel. There's certainly inflation that's coming into play. So inflationary factors affecting how things get built, labor costs, etc. There is currency at play as well that's affecting how the industry develops itself and plays itself out. So quite a few of these macro factors coming into perspective in the lay of the land. And then sort of kind of like more getting a bit more granular where demand and supply is going, right? So on the demand side is us consumers. You know, we see in a lot of the cities and a lot of the places where we go to, things have kind of changed from how we used to travel, right? So the lay of the land has changed, the relevance of places and the places where we stay have changed, the habits have changed, and as a result of that, we've had to sort of adapt, right? But one thing that hasn't adapted is actually the real estate, right? So essentially, what we've got is real estate that's sort of traditional. We have kind of evolved, so where's the relevance? And kind of making that sort of come into some sort of a balance where the equation starts to make sense again, right? So that's the kind of the theme around, you know, building conversions that are becoming relevant, relevance for what is going to happen tomorrow, the sustainability side of that, and ultimately, hopefully it makes sense and makes some money, right? So those are kind of the things that we've been working with. And then there is, if you look at what are the major trends that are happening in 2023, nothing's different in Vietnam. It's happening the same way as it happens in the US, Europe, Singapore, Thailand, anywhere else in our neighboring lands, right? There's a couple of emerging factors that are happening there. Technology is certainly a big part of that, right? And the utilization of technology has become a lot more of a necessity, but it's also become how do we actually segment that to make that beneficial for the business. And then there is some other factors that are coming into play, which is related to human capital and the use of human capital. How do we kind of how do we integrate that into design, into operations? And then there's other variables that you know, ultimately create this synergy between what is technology and how do we use that and how do we translate that into a human experience, right? So quite a bit of factors going on in terms of the lay of the land. And our hotels today, and interestingly, speaking to our colleagues at the revenue side, they see this as well. Our hotels today are very generic boxes. And certainly is no fault of anyone. It's just that time has progressed, right? And so public spaces are interacting very differently from how we ourselves are moving, or how we ergonomically use those public spaces. The guest rooms are of a certain design and certain type. So those have now, I guess, kind of design can create a bit more interaction or connectivity to them, but it's also how do we actually utilize them as our group as well as our segments. So in itself, we're actually using a couple of these variables in our conversion strategies, and here are some of the ways that we think that those conversions can happen and how value can be ultimately unlocked, right? So if we go through an asset, say in Hanoi, and we've done this in Singapore and in Bangkok as well, essentially you take these traditional boxes and you're looking at the public areas and you're looking at the guest rooms, right? Unlocking value on both sides can be very different, but it's actually working with the designers and working with themes around what's that micro market and that area requiring, and designing it and programming to that way. So one of the things that we think is beneficial is a lot of differentiation, because what differentiation helps you to do is it helps with your pricing and your positioning strategy, and that could be in the way of the guest rooms as well as in the F&B concepts that we utilize. Now F&B has also changed quite a lot, right? You used to have 4 or 5 spaces, a lot of meeting rooms, and that has sort of been flipped on the head in some ways as well, in terms of, do you lease them out, do you not lease them out, do you operate a certain space and then get brand partners and collaborators to come in together to create a destination. And then there is also the areas of saleable area within that real estate that needs to be optimized or to be refreshed, right? There is a lot on the revenue side that we think is a commercial plan that once you kind of make a conversion product relevant, is really having the operational strategies around that. And a lot of it is, it is revenue optimization related, and it can work both on your room side, on your F&B side, and an overall strategy to your feeder markets, and who are your feeder markets in your inbound and your domestic space. So as a result of that, there is this certain type of consumer that you can target through that box that or through that repositioning, redesigning exercise. And what that ultimately should translate to is creating a product that's differentiated, that's unique, that's competitive, and that sort of moves away from the traditional landscape that we have today. Couple of assets that we've done some work on is retailing. We've taken retailing in Singapore, where you typically wouldn't find any accommodation in a retail spot, right? So you take an area in a retail mall. Retailing's changed, right? It never used to be what it is. You're a lot of experiential-led retail. And what the accommodation collaborates with there is with the offering of the shopping, the entertainment, as well as the other amenities, activities that ecosystem provides. What that allows for with accommodation is your average length of stay or your time extends in that facility. Some of the other conversion type stories are really from hotels. So a lot of it is hotels within, within that, in the traditional sense, the traditional boxes, and looking at how they can be repurposed and redesigned and become relevant to the market. I think there's a really good opportunity in Ho Chi Minh and in Hanoi, particularly with all the independent hotels that are sitting or that are looking to compete better. Not that you have to be a YOTEL, you could be anything else, but really something to think about on how to regenerate your space and to make that a lot more relevant, a lot more competitive, and ultimately pricing will start to get to adjust itself as well, which is quite an interesting, quite a good outcome. We have done this on multiple levels, keeping the room counts the same, changing up the spaces through redesigns, taking a new hotel and converting that into something a bit more interesting, or taking larger room hotels and then splitting them up into higher inventories so that you've got a bit more density to play with. The other one that's interesting that doesn't come into mind, so we've done retailing. We do also office is an interesting one, right? With the whole paradigm of moving away from the typical work plans to a bit more of a lifestyle-driven remote work or work from home, work from play concept. So what we can do with office spaces is an interesting conversion too, especially if they're sort of really good locations, grade B, grade C office buildings that can be repurposed, readapt, regenerated, and ultimately could lead you to a pretty good return. So yeah, that's a quick way to share a couple of conversion stories and hopefully unlock that value of that real estate. Remember, the cities have good density. So that data point that Mauro showed around the cities need more hotels and probably construction costs are a bit too high to build new hotels. Maybe this is a way to sort of get that translated and create more inventory or supply. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikhil. I hope to see YOTEL in Vietnam very soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, after your presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have something for you. So, can you help me? It's not New Year yet, but I want you to count down with me from 3, okay? Can you do it with me? Let's start it. 3, 2, 1, go! Not yet, it's still technical. Can we do again? 3, 2, 1, go! It's not happy birthday.
Welcome to Vietnam.
Presents kick,
snare, bass,
samples,
scratch, scratch, scratch,
kick,
snare, bass,
samples, kick,
snare, bass,
samples.
Dynamic style, DJ irate, the buttonist, bring on the night,
Pushing buttons.
Dynamic style, DJ irate, the buttonist, bring on the night,
Pushing buttons.
So let's start the next part. I would like to invite on stage Dulaphan, Vice President of Business Development, Ascott. Please welcome.
I've been to the USA. I'm a slave on a minimum wage. Detroit, New York, and
Good evening, everyone. So just would like to start by quickly introducing myself a bit. So my name is Dun, just easy to be called. So I'm the Vice President of the Business Development from the Ascott Limited. So it's been my great honor to be on the stage, and thank you very much to Mauro and the team for inviting me to be attending such a great event. So as I'm having only about 10 minutes to be on the stage, so today I will just talk briefly about the Ascott and about the senior living, or sometimes we call the active living. So let's start talking a bit about the Ascott. So the Ascott was established since 1984. We pioneered the Asia Pacific first international class service resident with the opening of the Ascott in Singapore in 1984. We are a trusted operator of almost 40 years. As the Ascott, we strongly believe that the guests can stay anywhere in the world and feel like home. As a leading hospitality management company, we define global living, no matter the purpose of stay or destination of choice. We manage for our owners, we provide for our guests, and we deliver as associates. Currently, we have 15 brands under the Ascott, categorized by 3 product types. The first product type is the service residences and hotels. We have Ascott Citadines, Oakwood, Somerset, the Crest Collection, etc., etc. We have a live brand for the co-living. We have Domitis for the independent senior living, and very soon to have a new brand to support the independent senior living. Our global footprint, currently we have over 160,000 keys across the world with over 920 properties. Specifically in Vietnam, we currently have 34 properties, including service residence and hotels with over 9,000 keys. All right, so next part is, I would like to talk about the senior living. So let's start with the senior living market by geographies. On the left-hand side, you will see the global senior living market in 2022. So the chart here was classified by the market share. You will see that the North America was the biggest market with the 34% market share, following with Europe about 28%, and following with Asia Pacific about 25%. The right-hand side is the Asia Pacific senior living market in 2022. So China was the biggest market with a 26% market share, following with India and Japan. For Southeast Asia, it was about 12%, but with the huge potential to grow. So this one is to show the Asia Pacific market growth for the senior living spectrum. So I have to tell you first that there are about 5 main products for under the senior living spectrum. The first one is the continuing care retirement communities. It's like a full frame of senior living care. The second one is the independent living, and the third one assisted living, and the last one is like skilled nursing and memory care. In which for these items I will talk about it later on. So you will see that there is significant growth potential for APAC, with the market size projected to expand from 137 billion US dollars in 2022 to about 182 billion US dollar in 2028. It could be seen that the independent living market is the largest across senior living spectrum and is anticipated to grow from 47 billion US dollars from last year to 61 billion US dollar by 2028. Just a quick market overview for Vietnam. Opportunities option as a retirement destination for foreigners, low cost of living, and idyllic environment. Unsaturated market, not many retirement homes, assisted living compounds. Market is underdeveloped. Current market primarily sees wealthier private operators entering the market, partnering with private hospitals to provide the required medical care. Challenges: low domestic demand, inability for locals to afford the retirement homes only wealthy can afford. Elders are being cared for by family members instead of being placed in the retirement facilities. Below is some statistic about the elder and the median age of the Vietnamese. So the median age of the Vietnamese last year was about 33 years old. The elder population was 8% in 2022, but is projected to be 17% by 2030. So this one is just to show the market segments of the senior living spectrum with the correlation between cost to resident and the level of care. If you look at the independent living and assisted living, the level of care is low to moderate and low to moderate at cost to resident as well. But if you are looking at the very specific, like memory care or skilled nursing, you will see that those require like high level of care and high cost to resident. For the continuing care retirement communities, so it depends because it's a full-frame senior living care. So it could be ranging from low to high for both cost to resident and both level of care. Okay, so this is the comparison across the senior living spectrum. So there are five main categories. The first one is independent living, assisted living, memory care, nursing, and CCRC or continuing care retirement communities. So let's start with an independent living, which is Ascott focus segment. So the senior profile for the independent living is the independent seniors of similar age, range of stay, months to years, cost to resident, low to moderate, service differentiation, meals, housekeeping, laundry service, activities, medical care, 24-hour emergency, help call, payer system, private. Let's move to assisted living. The senior profile is independent seniors, but assistance in more activities of daily living, such as feeding, washing, toileting, and dressing. Length of stay, same as independent living, months to years, cost to resident, moderate to high, service differentiation, meals, housekeeping, laundry service, activities, personal care. For medical care, 24-hour caregiver support and emergency help and some nursing support is required. Payer system, private could be private, public, or subsidized. So let's jump to be more specialized, like skilled nursing care. Right? The profile of the seniors here are the seniors with the chronic conditions unable to care for themselves. Length of stay to end of life. Cost to residents obviously high because they need many treatments. They need many treatments. Service differentiation, same meals, housekeeping, laundry service, activities, personal care. But for medical care, it requires like medicalized care from healthcare professionals, medication management, and health monitoring. Okay, let's take a look at the considerations for Vietnam market. So the first one is aging population. The second is potential to attract international market for independent living and low independent living competition. But low local familiarity towards independent living, need to overcome social stigma of placing elderly into a senior living facility, and availability of substitutes for senior care. How is the Ascott capturing the senior living market? Who are the seniors? Multi-generation families, empty nester couples, or singles living alone. What are their needs and what are their aspirations? Independence or social engagement, care and safety, or discovery? And where are their homes? Okay, if you need a low medical care and high hospitality care, you go for independent living. But if you look for the moderate medical care, moderate hospitality care, you go to assisted living. But if you require high medical care but low hospitality care, so you go to such dependent cares like skilled nursing or memory care. So this is the current senior living properties that we have under the Ascott. So the first one is the Domitis Bangsa Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, opened in November 2022, 100 units, fully equipped, kitchen design for easy accessibility and autonomy, bathroom equipped with the grab bars, shower seats, higher seat height to cater for aged care. The clubhouse includes a karaoke room, multi-purpose room, lounge, gym, physiotherapy, massage room, salon, and all-day dining. The second one is the Domitis Hangzhou in China, which is targeted to be opened by 2024. 501 units, consists of lounge, coffee, bar, restaurant, garden, wellness clinic with traditional Chinese medicine, and basic rehabilitative facilities. Fitness center with multiple sports facilities, including indoor swimming pool. So I think that's all for today. So I will be around after this session, as well as my team. Raise your hands, please. Ascott team. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach us or my team, reach me or my team. Thank you very much.
Just on time. Thank you, Dun. Thank you, Dun. Just on time for us. So if you enjoyed the presentation and want to ask him some questions, he will stay with us until the host can I. So please stay with us and ask a lot of questions to Dulaphan. So hope that we can have more and more new model in Vietnam. So now before we start the next and the final solo speaking spot, I would like you to pay attention on the screen because we will show a video. Yes, and that is Santo, Smart Asset Control. Now, coming up is the last solo speaker. So I would like to invite on stage Mr. Nguyen, and he will present a very important topic of today.
Oh, you like that song? Nobody gonna take my land. Hello, this is Long. I'm a partner with Tilleke and Gibbins. I'm here to present you the very important topic for today, land law. Here comes the land. Everybody awake for this? So, you know, I was struggling with the idea of whether I should speak in English or in Vietnamese.
Okay, so if everyone want him to explain in
What you-
Vietnamese, just raise your hand. Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Thế thì, you know, I have a Hanoi voice.
And we have the headset for all of the foreigner.
Người con Hà Nội về quê. All right, guys. Most of you have been knowing me for all the professional works that I have serving all the clients for the last 20 years. And I'm here to give you free advice on what are the new change under the draft land law. So let's see that every circle of 10 years, the government in Vietnam is revising the law, investment law, enterprise law, and then now is a final round for the amended draft land law, which available earlier this month. All right. So thinking about, you know, the investment circle, every time the government change the new such kind of law, there's a wave of investment coming from the developer point of view, from the operator's point of view, right, Carolina, you like it? And also from the buyer point of view. So to predict what will be the final change under the law now, it has been like a circle of all the draft coming over and over, and then the end of this year, the National Assembly of Vietnam will adopt the new land law. But it's 260 articles, right? And there's a lot to talk about. I only have 10 minutes. So to give you a tip of what it means to our hospitality folks, how it affects our projects and our work in the hospitality market, I decided to pick a few points to discuss with you, and we'll go deep into that, I promise. So, and then how it impacts to our projects, right? For sure. We want to do what is the land lease, whether we choose the annual payment or upfront payment, and then how do we structure our cash flow surrounding the land purchase, and how do we develop the project out of that, and what impacts us in the long run. So it all comes back to the new, very important change that the government is considering very hard, the land lease. So hospitality projects, which are most likely the commercial and service land, right? So commercial service land, everyone knows 50 years, right? So under the lease form, you had to lease the land from the government for 50 years. So the current approach of the land law is you have two options. You can pay it annual lease, or you can pay it lump sum for the whole 50-year upfront. But it seems like under the new draft, the government is trying to push back the idea of, for the service and commercial land, only annually payment. So why does the government, you know, propose that idea at the very beginning? And for that, trust me, I have used all the chambers of commerce, you know, to push and to raise opinion to the government and trying to persuade government to come back to the two options that we currently have. And then luckily, final draft, I mean, not the final draft yet. We don't know what the government would update further for the next weeks. But currently, beginning this month, the government put back the option of upfront payment for our service and commercial land. So good point. Well done, our government. But then think about this, right? If we pay annually, then it comes to the next point of the land price. So land price is adapted with the market change. And then if we're paying annually, then what if the land price just going up and we have to pay more, right? But then if we pay upfront, then of course it affects our cash flow situation. So how, you know, from the, most of you are, you know, developers, and I like a lot of developer side, and, you know, you asked me a similar question, Long. So can we just pay annually, and then some other part would be paying lump sum? Oh, well, yeah, you can do that, right? So structure your project. You feel like you need a lump sum for certain part of your land, go for it. And you can lock the price right now, right? The next 50 years, you don't have to worry about the increase. But if you pay annually, then it's only stable for the only 5 years. And later on, you have to think about other options. So depending on how you structure your land and components, then the new change may affect it. So be careful and then consider seriously about this option. And then, think about annually you cannot mortgage. Yeah, if you're paying every year, of course, you cannot mortgage it. But then, if you pay lump sum, then of course you can, mortgage in the bank, with the bank. So that's another consideration for a lot of developers. But also for consultant, like foreign consultant operators, what does it mean if, your client or your owner is paying annual lease? Especially, here we come about the condotel and resort land, which is, I mentioned earlier, that was a debate topic. If the government allow developer to pay a condotel land annually, then how do the developer market and pre-sell it? You paying the land annually and then, you sell it for 50 years. Who will gonna pay it annually? Who pay the land annually? Doesn't work, right? Even the current approach by government, I mean, luckily they changed it in the final minutes in the latest draft, but before that was like, how do we do it, right? And every condotel project, every resort villa project need to pre-sell. And so finally, resort land have option to pay lump sum. And you can mortgage it, you can pre-sell it. So that is good news for us. Finger crossed that this will stay under the final amended land law in next month. And then the next thing that everyone would ask, of course, every one of you would ask, what happened with the condotel pink book? Can we get it now for our client? Can we get it now for all the buyers? And well, yes, decree number 10 actually is in effect right now, give you the right to apply for the pink book for your condotel projects or your villa projects. Of course, you have to pass by all the kind of acceptance we need for your constructions and handover and everything, right? But pink book is available. Good news for everyone. And then secondly, for condotel project, is it like condo project, with the same management structures? And then what is the role of the management company? A lot of you here, I know, my friend, you are management company. You are still wondering whether you are required to be locally established in order to manage those projects. I tell you what, management of the condotel project is not yet legal or regulated well in Vietnam, like the chung cư, like the residential product. So the current, like how to manage this project, with a certain kind of security concern from the, Bộ Công an, from the Ministry of Public, of M.Des, from the concern from the construction department, not yet available. I'm so sorry. I mean, I hope really that the government will give us a more management rules for the condotel project in the near future, so really this product can take off, because it's very interesting product in the market right now. Of course, it's applied to the shop house, applied to the resort villa as well. And then related to the HOA, right? Homeowner Association, right? Is it important, right? Can the Homeowners Association can veto the management role? That's a big question. And I think that the management companies would like to do it cross-border from the offshore perspective. And they really want that the owner would control the Homeowner Association for this kind of the projects, right? So the owner, be ready, and we hope that you can join hands with us to push the government for issuing a new management rules for the condotel projects in the very near future, maybe under the new decree. And then developer, hey, can I get my land from without the auctioning? Can I do the bidding projects for my land? Currently, there's a Decree 10, which is issued a few months ago. If anyone of us familiar with Decree number 10, right? Mentioning about the auctioning procedures, and then tightening the auctioning procedures, no more cross-ownership bidders, right? You see, you can realize what type of land is it, right? what land is look like. And we all know the incidents of this. But more importantly, there's a new point of the change. Remember this, that if we already collected the land for our big projects, and the land is used in many purposes, do we have to return our land to the government, and the government will do auctioning for our land in order to give us an in-principle approval, whatever we normally call it, chấp thuận chủ trương, đúng không ạ? So that is a burning question right now from the market. And you know what? The latest draft of the law finally take our recommendation to abolish all the auctioning requirement for those kind of the different purpose land. If you want to do a housing project and you already secure your land, right now it seems like you don't have to return it to the government doesn't have to revoke it in order to do the auctioning for your new, and then give it to you. So you can apply directly for your chấp thuận chủ trương in principle approval if you already have your land secure. And then the idea of, if the land is like a mix of residential and then, non-agricultural, agricultural land mix, if you want to do residential project, can you get all of your land repurposed for that? And then now it seems like the government is leaning to the idea of no more auctioning required. So that means you can apply directly for the in-principle approval if you have a mixed land. If the government allows you to convert your agricultural or other purpose land into residential land, and this is under the annual kind of the land plan of the district, then you are lucky, you have a shot to apply and then get the in-principle approval without the auctioning requirement. So that is a good thing.
You have your 3 minutes left for us to impress us with something. It's very good now that they will pay your time to go into. We'll give you 3 or 4 minutes left. Please.
3 or 4 minutes, do I have, all this land law thing gonna take more time. Land price, everyone. So as I said, annually option, the government currently give you a stable land price for the 5 years term. And after that, the government will apply the CPI approach for the next land lease price for the next 5 years term if you're paying annually. So be aware of this, because currently it's 15% cap for every 5 years, right? Everyone knows it. But it looks like now it's gonna be more than 15%, more than 15% in the next 5 years if you are choosing the annually payment. But then if you're a lump sum option, of course, there's a market price application designed by the authority and then apply for your land for the next 50 years. So this is something new that you need to be aware when it's about the method of calculating the land price. And it will be very kind of comprehensive from the government it produced, but it's also a clearer procedure for all of us. So hopefully it will get adopted. Well, if you are a foreign investor here, hey, there's some consistency of the land law and also investment law procedure. For FDI company now, if you are only required to be called as an FDI company if you have more than 50% of ownership. Below 50% ownership, you're a local company.
A big applause for Matthew. I hope you enjoyed the song, Matthew. And now, joining Matthew, I would like to invite Peter Mayer from Logis Hospitality.
She walks like she don't care. Walking on in
Li Lin from Noble Hospitality.
It makes you wanna die.
Samuel Lim from Shangri-La Group.
Maria, you gotta
from Radisson Hotel Group. Sancho from TTC Land International Thailand. And Christopher Piro from Indochina Capital. So everyone, please enjoy the last panel.
Great. Well, hello everyone. Thank you to the organizers. As always, MTE is a fantastically well-attended event. I'm conscious we're running late and everyone is hanging out for the Hoska drinks at 6 p.m. We've got a great panel today, some real heavy hitters. Hopefully we can share a few gems of knowledge. I don't think we'll go into too much detail about PowerPoint slides and talking about the market, but we've got some very knowledgeable people here today, so I'd like to get share some of their insights about the real estate market, of course in particular the hospitality market, but we've got a few other sector specialists and regional people. Instead of me doing it, because I don't know that much about everyone, what I'm going to ask if everyone can introduce maybe yourselves and your business about 30 seconds, and then we can get straight into the questions and see if we can share some insights. I've got a few questions here, but if we have time for a couple of questions from the audience, we'd be happy to take those as well. So let's crack on. Sam, if I could start with you.
Sure, thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Samuel Lim. I represent Shangri-La Group. As you may be aware, Shangri-La Group, we are a family-owned hospitality company, 52-year-old company, and globally we have 105 hotels across our 4 brands, which is Shangri-La, Jen, Traders, and Carry Hotels. And I take care of global business development for the group outside of China. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Sanjog?
Yeah, a very good evening, everybody. My name is Sanjog. I am head of hospitality and asset management for TTC Land. We don't have our own brands, but we do we are developers, we are owners. So my portfolio goes from Plaza Athene in New York to Park Hyatt Canberra to Adelaide Intercontinental. Happy to welcome you all. This is also our hotel, MTE Hanoi, and also hotels in Cambodia and Laos, and 2 hotels in China. So a total portfolio of 12 hotels. And we are looking to ramp up our portfolio and grow TTC Land International. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjog. Peter?
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Good evening, all. My name is Peter Meyer. I am the CEO of a group called Lodges. We were formed in late 2016, so I guess we're nearing our 7-year anniversary, the old 7-year itch. We were formed through a partnership between Warburg, the private equity house, and Vinh Capital, a pioneer in investment management here in Vietnam. The best way to characterize us is as an investment development and operating company. Some of our more notable assets include the Metropole here in Hanoi. You've probably heard of it. We own that with the government of Vietnam, along with the integrated resort and casino, Ho Cham. And we, in addition to our various real estate investment and development activities, we have a hotel operating company under the brand name Fusion.
Thank you, Peter. Carolina?
Hello. Good evening, everybody. I don't know if I have to present myself or not, but anyway, Carolina, Radisson Hotel Group, 1,700 hotels globally in more than 100 countries. Radisson Blu, #1 hotel for 10 consecutive years in Europe, and currently present in Vietnam with 4 operating hotels and 7 in the pipeline.
Thank you. Lee?
Grazie. Since everyone's gone over 30 seconds, I'll keep mine brief. I'm Leland. I represent Nobu Hotels, Asia Pacific. So Nobu Hotels were founded about 10 years ago for our hotel side, and restaurant side 30 years. So we're celebrating our 30-year and 10-year anniversary this year for hotel and restaurants. Nobu, obviously, for some of you that know, founded by some of the most celebrated characters in the world, Robert De Niro, Chef Nobu, and Mayor Tepper, famous Hollywood producer. So we're in those locations, 55 restaurants, 38 hotels, and 12 residential branded residences globally right now. So we're also looking to open a property in Da Nang. We just signed a couple of months ago, and looking to do more projects here in Vietnam.
Chris Piro from Indochina Kajima, a joint venture between Kajima Corporation and Indochina Capital, formed in 2016. Today we've been focused on the rollout of the Wink Hotel platform, of which we have 3 hotels operating, a number of properties under construction. We are also active in the industrial sector under the Core 5 brand name, and we have a number of other assets, including a Mandarin Oriental luxury resort and a grade A office building upcoming in Hanoi.
Great, thank you everyone. Well, I've been asked to keep it good vibes only, so we've got to try and keep it positive, guys. Maybe I'll start with Peter. I mean, you've got quite a few assets here, development, existing assets, well-known trophy assets as well. How has been your year, and are you seeing positive signs coming through for the last quarter and going into next year? What's your take on this year so far, and is there light?
Sure. Look, I would look at it as really a tale of 2 stories. From an operating asset standpoint, for the most part, our portfolio is springing back nicely from the down days of COVID. There's selective pockets of properties that aren't doing as well, that ironically did well in COVID for different reasons. But the financial markets and the real estate markets have been, no doubt, as you guys know, have been unkind. So it's really a mixed story.
And Carolina, I know you've been to a few conferences over the last few weeks. What's everyone saying? What's happening in the regional hotel market?
So far, actually, is the best year for us. So we're going to finish 2023 with more than 150 signing in Asia Pacific. So it's the best record here. So we are absolutely super positive. So we are growing. We are number 1 in India, and then Indochina, of course, with Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos is following as the biggest business unit. So we're really positive. The trends are there. The fundamentals, actually, of our industry are there. We have seen today ADR, especially on the luxury segment, it's really picking up. There are missing still on the economy segment, where actually we are missing the Chinese. Yeah. Okay, everyone is missing them, and we are missing that. But we are recovering. We are recovering well. There are a lot of challenging, costing, energy, a lot. But I think we are all changing and being more flexible than what we were before. And therefore, we are going slowly out of this bad environment. How the problem is happening, every time you look at news, there is something new happening. So if you ask me, it's very tough, but positive. Guys, we are here. Let's go ahead. So yeah, for us, it's very good.
So we see you in Vietnam quite often. What's your pipeline? What's your plan for Vietnam, and why are you so keen to be here?
We have changed the game in Vietnam. Instead of going for new builds, because of all the problem of the governments and not approval whatsoever, financing pipeline has been minimum 2 years of delay. We have looked at brownfield or conversion this year successfully, very successfully. So what we have done is actually look at our standard, be more flexible, add maybe some spaces that were not needed. For example, F&B, this year has been a disaster. So why keep on the F&B, right? So maybe the space of the F&B can be converted into flexible meeting rooms. It can save your costs. It can be, something that is a multifunctional space that help you a lot to vision different things. And we have done this path this year. We've been successful. We will continue, because actually it's where we see that we can, we have a different, we can differentiate from other brands.
Thank you. Thank you. Chris, another Vietnam long-termer. Maybe you could talk us through the Indochina Kajima strategy, because it's not just hospitality. What's driving your investment thesis, and what sectors are you focusing on?
Like I mentioned at the outset, we have really two platforms that define our company at the moment. One is the Wink Hotel platform, and then Core 5. Core 5 is more industrial focused. So between the two platforms, we feel like we have very good balance. Hotel investment is more long-term, whereas what we're seeing with the Core 5 investments into ready-built factories, ready-built warehouses, is that we have the opportunity where we can exit a lot quicker. So from an investment standpoint, the two kind of bring balance to one another. So that's really been the focus of our company since forming the joint venture in 2016.
Maybe widening the scope a little bit, Sam. So globally, regionally, there's a lot of stuff going on around the world, a lot of geopolitical stuff going on. How is this impacting tourism from your point of view at the luxury end of the market in Asia and elsewhere for Shangri-La?
Well, in some ways, the bulk of our portfolio, out of the 105 hotels that we have, 50 odd of them are in China, so that's in its own world. And outside of China, therefore, we have also 50 odd hotels, and the bulk of it are located in Asia, and with 6 in the Middle East, and then 2 in Europe and 2 in Canada. So in some ways, we are kind of insulated from the Middle East kind of the conflict, and then Russia and Ukraine and all that. In Asia, we have hotels in almost every capital city in Southeast Asia: Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, Tokyo, Bangkok, Manila. So the intra-Asia travel from both a corporate as well as leisure demand is still very strong. All our hotels, be it resorts as well as our city hotels, have actually rebounded very strongly, including, I forgot to mention, the Shangri-La Sydney. So business has been good, but we are not resting on our laurels. We are looking to expand in a more measured way, where we see a sustained level of luxury demand for lodging, as well as working with good partners who will deliver the type of hotels that we manage. So that's a snapshot of us.
Thank you. So maybe, San George, as an owner with what a diverse spread of assets that you're managing, what trends are you seeing? So you're all the way from New York to China to Southeast Asia, Thailand, etc. So what are some of the key threads you're seeing?
Well, I would be very honest with you. COVID did teach us a lot, in terms of how we were, and definitely we have changed since then. How we look at our assets, how we look at growth, how we look at efficiencies, and how we look at performance. For me, personally, the trends which I am focused on is making the organization more lean, more focused in terms of who we are, which segment we want to attract for each of our hotels, and at the same time, ramping up the hotels so they are performing better than 2019 or before. So one of the big trends I'm seeing in at least our hotels in Asia is that we have now made silos in terms of what are our real profit driving centers, and focus on that. Try not to spend too much of money on stuff which was kind of facilities, what they used to call them. On the guest side, I see, of course, everybody misses the Chinese market. However, we definitely feel like a hotel like in Vietnam here, driven by domestic, driven by C&E. I do feel that going into the future, luxury will always prevail. I think we're very happy. We deal with most of the brands like the Park Hyatt, like IHG. Of course, Holiday Inn is also part of our portfolio, which is not total luxury, but definitely suits a particular market. So we are very focused on where we are segmented, and we want to grow that whole region And I think the best days are ahead for us in 2024, 25.
Thank you. Lee, Nobu, the cool kid on the block, the celebrity brand. So Peter and Chris have built the Fusion brands and the Wink brand respectively, which I think done a fantastic job, both different sectors. What challenges do you think Nobu would have? I mean, it's very well known internationally, but perhaps not that well known to Vietnamese domestic consumers. What's your strategy for entering the market from that F&B point of view and developing that stay brand?
Yeah, Matt, I think you're definitely on the spot there in terms of we're new here, right? So in terms of hotels, but restaurant-wise, which is our heart and soul, has been in Asia for a long time, and one of our longest standing hotels actually in City of Dreams in Manila. So that's celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Restaurant-wise, we have some great restaurants, plugged into some great hotels. At the ex-Intercon in Hong Kong, just now the Regent. We had a restaurant in Beijing before, the JW Marriott, and we have a Nobu at the Four Seasons in Singapore. So in terms of our experience in Asia, we've certainly been around, and obviously Nobu-san, our founding partner, he's from just right outside of Tokyo. So the idea is for us to hopefully bring back Nobu-san to Asia, and hopefully have a spot in Japan as well, where he's from. But in terms of F&B, it really is our heart and soul. So a lot of people look at F&B, and me and Sun Joke have talked about this for way too many panels for the last month. This is our third panel in a month. So we had a great collaboration on a property that we have in New York, which is a good example to talk about, the Plaza Athénée in New York, which the TCC family has owned for many, many years, and operated under Plaza Athénée. So, when I was with the owner side, looking after the project, a very clear and distinctive advantage of Nobu, facing the union environment in New York, was the fact that we're even with the union, we're really able to bring in that traffic and revenue versus a lot of hotels. I'm not gonna pick on any hotels here, but F&B is oftentimes an afterthought, right? So, but for us, that's a heart and soul. That's where you want to be seen. That's where you want to be seen socializing. That's where we bring the traffic, and really the spirit of the Nobu restaurant, comes through in all parts of hospitality from the restaurant. The passion, the friendliness, and the relaxed service attitude. That's really what we go for. So we're kind of straddled, kind of in the middle there, between the two sides of luxury, the more serious luxury and more casual luxury. So I think that, to me, strikes a really good balance, within that F&B and hotel world.
Thank you. So I think we all agree that there's a great story, there's a great demand, but a few people on the panel have been through some hard yards, let's say, and been around the block a few times. Maybe Peter, respectfully, if I can throw this one over you. What development challenges do you face, and what steps would you advise to be put in place so that the development pipeline can be freed up and more projects can come to market and allow some more of the operators to get more exposure in Vietnam? So some of the fundamental changes you see in the Vietnam development process. Peter, sorry. What challenges are you having, Peter?
I didn't actually apologize. Maybe it's my 6 decades on Earth, but I'm having trouble hearing.
Sorry.
Can you?
What challenges are you facing building projects in Vietnam? What are the development challenges, and what advice do you have?
Yeah. Well, I can't say I've got the
the answer.
The silver bullet. No, we're facing lots of challenges, but we're no different than anyone else in that regard. If you're in the development game here, it's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. I did business in India for a number of years, and on the degree of difficulties, that's a tough place. It's harder here, we found. Look, it's a labyrinthian process of various permits to get through it. We set timetables, very, very difficult to meet, and all sorts of complications. So there's the whole government permitting process. which is extremely complex. There's also been recent focus on land and quite a bit of sensitivity around that, and the rules shift, and even rights that you have shift. So it's difficult. It's been further complicated. It's been further complicated by a difficult real estate market. So you have contractors you're working with who are being squeezed, and they're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and then not having the money to bring the workers on the site. So it's been challenging. Now, notwithstanding that, we have been completing projects, but it is difficult, indeed.
Chris is nodding sagely. So Chris, you've been with Wink, it's the limited service model, right, we'd call that. Plus you're also getting exposed to the luxury segment. Can you talk us through some of the development challenges that you have in some of these newer locations? Because Wink's been more widespread, a bit wider, a larger number of locations, and then you're focused in some new beach stuff, right? Can you talk us through some of the challenges you're having?
Well, I would say, further kind of to Peter's point, from a development perspective, the licensing process is actually a lot simpler in the secondary locations. So getting the licenses and permits in areas like Kanta, Haiphong, Tui Hua to roll out Wink hotels has been a lot simpler than it's been in Hanoi or Saigon. To date, the operating hotels that we have are in Ho Chi Minh City and Da Nang. And what we've noticed since the beginning of the year, or year on year, is that performance has been improving. It's starting from a relatively low base, obviously, as the market recovers from the effects of COVID and kind of the turbulent economic sentiment globally. But I think we're heading in the right direction. To date, most of our Wink Hotel projects that are located in secondary cities are under construction. So we haven't actually completed and put them into operations yet. But obviously, we do foresee some challenges. When we initially underwrote most of these deals, we didn't anticipate that COVID was going to hit us. And it set markets like, say, Tui Hua back 3 years. We thought that the airport would be expanding, there would be more flights, there would be international arrivals. We thought that there would be more source markets that we'd be able to tap into. But where we're at today is predominantly we're focusing on a domestic market, which is, has been strong thus far this year. But we thought there would be a little bit more diversification in terms of the sources that we could go after. So it will be challenging, to be honest, opening some of these hotels in the next couple of years. But as long as you have a long-term view, which Indochina Capital has always had, we'll find a way to make it work.
So Chris is getting into new locations. Carolina, can you share a little bit more about your location strategy for Vietnam? Are you looking at any particular new areas, new destinations in Vietnam?
Actually, we are looking to create destination with our partners. So for sure, we are looking. We just signed a new hotel, Radisson Red in Da Nang, which we are already present with the Radisson. We are looking, of course, still looking hard in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh. Please come. We are looking at secondary location, also tier 3 location. It's all about the right product and the right return for owners. So we are very open. As I said before, I think right now we need to look at the opportunity that there are already in the market. Because of this processing, as everyone is saying right now, everything is slowing, right? So what we are trying to do is help current owners. So rebranding, or if also there is a financial crisis. So we are trying to help owners and say, and no worries. I mean, the product is quite okay. Let's plug in. We have a soft brand called Radisson Individual. So we come, we plug you in, and you go live. And you are part of this second, actually, biggest hotel group in the world. So it's easy. So we are here to help. We are here to find solution for investor and developers.
Thank you. And Sam, for Shangri-La, so yet to enter Vietnam, what's your plan? So first question, strategy for Vietnam. And second, just want to get your thoughts on, how do we say, let's say the lifestyle brands versus the market share of the luxury brands. How do you see that playing out in Southeast Asia? So let's say the barefoot luxury versus yourselves.
Sure, thank you. Well, yes, I had earlier mentioned that we are actually present, our Shangri-La brand, our Shangri-La hotels are present in most of Asia's capital cities, and one of the glaring white spot we have is Vietnam. We don't have any presence in Vietnam. And our strategy for Vietnam is we would like our first point of entry to be either Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi with our Shangri-La brand. And that's really because our Shangri-La brand is our more famous brand, and it's about 90% of our portfolio are Shangri-La hotels. And we prefer to enter a market where there is sufficient international airlift, sufficient levels of luxury demand, both across the various segments, right? It's corporate, leisure, in some ways cultural, and MICE. So Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi will be perfect entry points for our Shangri-La brand into Vietnam. Your next point on lifestyle and all that, in some ways, quite frankly, I have a rather controversial view on lifestyle brands and the whole advent of this lifestyle evolution that probably started 5 years ago. I think in some ways, the lifestyle segment was born out of the more casual on how luxury travel, luxury stays has become a little bit more casual, a little bit more carefree. You know, I mean, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a panel like this, everybody would be wearing a tie, right? And right, but everyone here, nobody's wearing. Oh, you only Chris is wearing a tie. He's the more formal one.
Chris and Peter, yeah.
Oh, and Peter, yeah.
I was reluctant.
Old school. But yeah, so it's more there's a level of more casualness, and then therefore the hotel industry, the operators started to say, let's do a segment called lifestyle. We do also our Gen is a response to that our hotel Gen brand is a response to that evolution, and in many ways that comes across through the interior design of our hotel. It's a 4-star brand at its heart. 28 to 30 square meter rooms in most locations, can go smaller in cities like Japan. But how we bring across the lifestyle-ness is through the uniforms of our employees, right? A bit more casual, sometimes jeans, shirts, t-shirts, and the interior design. And even for some of our Gen in cities where there's a lot higher level of corporate demand, then we do away with the more lifestyle motifs on the wall. It's a bit more contemporary. So I see this as a phase. I see the lifestyle segment will not be anything that special 5 or 10 years from now. That's my personal view.
You heard it here first. Sanjay, we're just talking upstairs about food and beverage, and you had some views. What do you view as the future of food and beverage with regards to the luxury hotel segment and wider APAC?
Sorry. I got to be careful what I say, because every time I say something on food and beverage, I get in a lot of trouble, especially with the brands. Lee and me, we've been having this discussion in Singapore. We've been having this discussion in Bangkok. Of course, we're partnering with Nobu Hotels for Plaza Athene, New York. So definitely that's a big part. Here's my concept. What made us successful in the past will not make us successful in the future. I do not believe in food and beverage for hotels. When I say that, I want to qualify. I believe in B&B. I believe in beds and banquets. I do not want lifestyle restaurants. I do not want fine dining restaurants. I think they are more of a service. They have the lowest departmental profit, sometimes less than 10%. And the reason I say that, I want to qualify, is because we do not, in today's time, have the right people who can drive a food and beverage concept to what it used to be 10, 15, 20 years back. So my goal is to execute the vision of the ownership. And we believe in bottom line, we believe in performance. And looking at the hotel, by 76, 78% of your revenue comes from the rooms profitability. One has to be very, very clearly focused where you are, what segment you want. I do believe that brands have brand standards, and they try to push it to you very, very severely. But everybody forgets about what is a brand experience. Brand experience comes off from food and beverage. But what we have been seeing in the last at least 5 to 8 years, it is more of a cost center. And that is why I believe that a hotel like MTE Hanoi, where we are very proud that 51, 53% of our total revenue comes from banquets of the hotel. We have very, very large banquets. I believe in that. But will I agree to a brand to open 3 or 4 restaurants in a hotel and a bar? Possibly not. But that's where I think the strategy has to be very, very correct. Different cities have different challenges, but food and beverage for me is something which I will be very, very cautious in going forward.
Got it. I'm going to switch it back to a little bit more real estate-y focus. Branded residential. Nobu coming up. So obviously, the hotel, Robert De Niro, Mr. Nobu, all that. When are we going to see some Nobu residences, and when can we move in?
Well, our first one here in Vietnam is Da Nang, so maybe
Da Nang coming soon, right?
Look to Matthew for Nobu residences, Da Nang for sales. But we, more and more, we're probably looking about 50 to 60% of our new deals are integrated developments. So we have some great developments coming up in Toronto, in Atlanta, Dallas, and in Mexico. Obviously, we're also, for our projects going forward in Asia, we will also love to have that component to it as well, since the residential part really adds to the development versus just, obviously it's good for the owners. You get great returns for your development, but at the same time, to us, it's about creating a community that truly appreciates and enjoys the offerings of the Nobu brand. So instead of being visitors all the time to Nobu, can actually own a piece of it and actually be proud to be living in that community, which I think to me are the greatest promoters eventually for the brand. So yeah, that's a lot of our projects moving forward will be related to branded residences. Obviously, financial side is great. We're looking at 30-40% upside for the branded residences for most of our projects. Our project in Toronto is the highest per square meter in sales in Toronto, and obviously great location also helps. But to me, it's that integrated offering and that creation of a community that that's truly creating value for that project.
Peter, as an owner, operator, developer, and branded residential has been quite a big part of your development in the last few years. What's your view on the future of branded residential development vis-a-vis Vietnamese buyers and more international buyers for Vietnam for that segment?
No, I think the future will be promising and will continue to be lucrative, actually. And part of it is the integrated experience that was discussed over here, but also people identify with brands. There's a psychic gratification people get from owning a branded good or product, and that gives a pricing premium, and it also a store of value. Yeah. It's been a good business for us. Yeah. We have branded product in Ho Chi Minh, and we have branded product at our flagship. Thank you very much. A little whiskey. Let's get it going.
I think someone
heard
Sandra was talking about food and beverage.
Okay, it's time to go.
that time, right? This is
And
not
we
high,
have
it's not high
branded
cap.
product. Yeah. I'm showing 6:09. And we have a branded product in Da Nang. So we think it's a good business.
Yeah.
It's a good business for us to extract further value from people's association with brands.
Do you think there'll be more interest from buyers further afield? So US, Australia, rest of the world buyers, rather than, at the moment it's predominantly regional buyers, so Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Would you start to see your brand, that interest coming, and maybe Nobu will start to,
Well, it depends
attract
on the brand,
yeah.
right? Fusion, the brand we have, has a very high profile and following in Vietnam, but somebody down in Brisbane might not know what the hell a Fusion is,
Right.
right? So that's one thing. Yeah. And then the other thing is what markets are attractive,
Yeah.
right? It's complicated here as a foreigner to own real estate. We actually would have a leasehold anyway. Would have to be structured that way. So it's location dependent and brand dependent. Nobu, which has, give you a little plug here, has international acclaim, will have that draw globally, whereas our brand, admittedly, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah. Soon. Carolina, fearless forecast for next year. What's your view on 2024, and do you think, what do you think is going to happen in the regional markets? What's your view, and what are you hearing in the boardrooms?
Sorry, Carolina, 1 second. Guys, we haven't even cheers. And the reason why you got the drink is to inform everybody that in 10 minutes the drink are opening. We get a few of the last question here ongoing, and then the Oscar night will start.
Okay.
So let's keep it going, and cheers, everybody. Cheers to that.
Cheers,
and
everybody.
later we cheers to the
I'm
pub.
sorry, guys. Cheers.
Salud.
So we do the last question, right?
Last question.
Sorry, Steve. Go on, Carolina, finish it off.
I think the trends are positive. We are looking at a very stable expansion without, we are relooking at our plans actually every 3 months, just in order to, to stay updated on what is going on geopolitically or across the world, right? So as long as I think you know your market well and you predict the growth in the right way, I think there is next year will be good, and we will keep growing, I think, together. So I don't see why. We have actually the energy costs are going down. There's been a peak in 2022. We are being back from COVID since almost now 1.5 years. We have absolutely spent a lot of time retraining and refocusing on our people. So I think we are absolutely ready to go now, and we will keep going. So super positive.
Good to hear. Chris, Vietnam veteran, what's your forecast for Vietnam for next year?
Similar to Carolina, I feel very positive, both in the hotel segment and in the industrial segment. For hotel specifically, we've seen a lot of good growth at our hotels. In particular, we've seen good growth in the market in general. I think we're around 70% of the levels that we were at in 2019. So we're slowly inching our way back to where we once were when everyone was very happy and a lot of smiles. So I think by the end of 2014, we'll be in a similar place that we were in 2019. I think in the industrial space, there hasn't been nearly as much of a setback as there was with the hotel sector. So what we're seeing is very strong demand. I think manufacturing is still the backbone of the economy. 85% of FDI inflows are still going into manufacturing. In terms of FDI, I think the first 9 months of 2023 was a record actually for Vietnam in terms of dispersed FDI.
Yeah.
So we're feeling very positive. Leasing's been going well at our projects. So as we go into 2024, I feel like we're in a good place.
Fantastic, great to hear. I'm conscious we're eating into the Oscar night time, so I think we'll wrap it up here. I'd like to thank you to everyone on the panel. A lot of great insights. There's really too much to talk about in sort of half an hour, 45 minutes or so. I think everyone will be around for the next few hours, so I hope you come and share your insights, and please feel free to ask us or any of the panel and network with everyone here. Thank you to Nguyen and Mauro for putting on such a great event. It's great to see MTE taking off. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, the panel, for a very insightful panel discussion. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us until now. The Oscar night will start very soon. But now, I would like to announce the 3 people that who are the luckiest one today to get the gift voucher. So can I have the lady here and on the business card here?
Lucky draw prizes.
Yeah, you are the lucky people, maybe.
Can I give you my business card?
Did everyone put their business cards in, by the way?
Okay, very good. We close the panel, we still going. All's done? Thank you very much. Stand up, everybody. A big round of applause before we do lucky draw with them on the stage. Thank you.